Chapter 840, The Real System. The Real System. To be precise, the system that Wang Xian obtained in the past did not wake up at all. Just like him, he had not even reached the level of a newborn divine dragon. Now, after he had completed the first transformation of the divine dragon, the system could be considered to have truly woken up. Furthermore, he had some understanding of this system from the scene in his mind. Those divine dragons of the 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th transformations had already fallen in the battle with the insect race. The insect race, Wang Xian vaguely understood from the divine dragon transformation that this was a race that destroyed the world. They were born to kill and devour. This race was extremely terrifying. Even the top races in the universe had to be afraid of them. There were not many top races in the universe. The only race that could fight against the insect race was the divine dragon race. For some reason, the divine dragon race had a war with the insect race. The insect race was exterminated, and only the weak or impure divine dragons of the divine dragon race were still alive. However, the dragon gods of the divine dragon race who had reached the 9 transformations of the divine dragon had created a system. It could be said to be a system, or it could also be said to be a divine weapon that assisted the growth of the divine dragon. There was a weapon spirit inside the divine weapon. This weapon spirit didn't have any emotions, only the rules that the dragon gods had established. This was also to prevent other powerful races from intercepting the supreme treasures belonging to the dragon god clan. From the picture in his mind, he got a message from the mouths of the dragon gods. A dragon god of the dragon god clan owned a dragon palace. The members of the dragon palace were different from each dragon in the dragon palace. If they had prepared earlier and formed the most perfect army, they would not have died together with the bug clan. Now, in this system, there was not only the treasures of the dragon gods of the dragon palace, but also a supreme treasure. This supreme treasure was the foundation of the bug clan. It was also the most powerful place of the bug clan, which was the bug nest. However, the bug nest was modified by the dragon gods and turned into a dragon pool. As long as they had subordinates and energy, the dragon palace could create powerful members of the dragon palace without limit. This was also the reason why the last voice said that there would come a day when the invincible divine dragon and the invincible dragon god clan would rule the oceans of the myriad realms. Now, the system will release missions and reward items. Similarly, there is also a system store which can be exchanged for items collected by the group of divine dragons. In the future, the elevation of the dragon palace will be easier. The elevation of my strength will also be easier. Wang Xian's eyes sparkled as he thought of the changes in his attributes. Name, Wang Xian. Race, 5 elemental divine dragon, able to transform into a human. Level, extraordinary first level, first change of the divine dragon transformation. Dragon crystal, 0 out of 100. Supernatural ability, ruling the water tribe that is lower than one's level. Devouring creatures to extract dragon crystals. Control of the 5 elements. Cultivation method, divine dragon transformation. Divine ability, burn the river and boil the sea. Gold crack the void. Descend of the wood realm. Water danger storm city. Wrath of the earth, soul capture, endless sight. Spirit possession. Dragon palace, level 2. Dragon palace members, 2,655. Level change to transcendent level 1. The first transformation of the divine dragon transformation. The dragon chi disappeared and turned into dragon crystals. With 8 divine abilities, burn the river and boil the sea as fire dragon AoE attack. Gold crack the void as gold dragon AoE attack. Can also attack single target. Descend of the wood realm as green dragon AoE attack. Water danger storm city as water dragon AoE attack. The fury of the earth was an area of effect attack from the earth dragon. As for the soul-absorbing, endless sight, and spirit-attaching divine abilities, they came from the soul-returning wood, endless wood, and the tree of servitude. Soul-absorbing, the eyes could absorb souls, the souls of the members of the Dragon Palace, and the souls of other people. After absorbing them, they could obtain information about them. They could also put them on the soul-returning wood and resurrect them. Endless Eyes was an eye bloodline technique. Wherever one looked, they would directly attack with flames. Moreover, the flames would never be extinguished. It was an extremely terrifying eye bloodline technique. As for the spirit-attaching ability of the Changshu, it could make a plant have spirituality. The spirit-attaching ability could greatly enhance the cultivation of spiritual herbs and the use of the wood element in battles. Take the divine ability of the descent of the wood world as an example. After the spirit-attaching ability was released, all the trees in the wood world would have spirituality and burst out with even more terrifying power. Phew, with my current strength, even the current Empress is no match for me. Wang Xian's eyes revealed a look of confidence. Out of the 8 divine abilities, each one of them was extremely powerful. They could completely suppress existences of the same level. Feng Wan had once said that after transcendence, there was a difference between the first stage and the second stage. The difference between the first stage and the second stage could be said to be the difference between the Dan stage and the infant stage. With his current strength, he could definitely fight against opponents of a higher level. Let's see what's in the system store. Wang Xian had a thought. Open the treasury. Ding! Host strength is the first change of the divine dragon transformation. You can only check the treasures of the first change of the divine dragon transformation. Elixirs, treasures, dragon seeds, formations, and materials. There were a total of 5 options. Wang Xian had a thought and opened the elixirs. Dragon blood pill. An extraordinary tier, 3 item. After consuming it, the price will be increased by 10 dragon crystals. The exchange price will be 10 dragon crystals. 1,000-year-old dragon blood herb. An extraordinary tier, 3 item. After consuming it, the price will be increased by 11 dragon crystals. The exchange price will be 11 dragon crystals. Dragon. Wang Xian had completely lost interest after scanning through 2 of them. Consuming it would increase the price by 10 dragon crystals. The exchange price would be 10 dragon crystals. His brain was pumping as he tried to exchange for this. It seems like these elixirs are meant to upgrade the items of the members of the Dragon Palace. That's not right. With the Dragon Pond around, it's not of much use to the members of the Dragon Palace. It's useless. Wang Xian shook his head in disappointment and opened the treasure column. There were more items in the treasure column. There were a few thousand of them. There were gold, wood, water, fire, earth, wind, lightning, and dark spirit pearls which could be cultivated into dragon pearls. However, the price was too high, at least 100 dragon crystals. There were also some protective items such as necklaces, bracelets, dragon scales, and some attack-type dragon teeth and claws. There were also pill furnaces and weapon forging tables. The items inside weren't very useful to him. Being at the top of the universe, the divine dragon's true form was extremely powerful, and they could use very few weapons. When he opened the dragon seed, he found out that it was the most precious treasure in the treasure. Thorned dragon seed. Known to be the strongest assassination dragon seed. Mad dragon seed. Known to be the strongest combat dragon seed. Imperial dragon seed. Known to be the strongest defense dragon seed. Arrow dragon seed. Known to be the strongest long-range attack dragon seed. There weren't many dragon species. There were 15 of them, and they were the subordinates of the strongest dragon palace in the Dragon God Dragon Palace. These were the dragon species that the dragon god had painstakingly nurtured, and each of them was no weaker than the dragon god. They were the strongest in assassination, single combat, defense, long-range attack, support, fire element, water element, and the other 7 elements. Once these dragon species were all cultivated, they would be absolutely invincible. However, to cultivate one of these dragon species, they would need a large amount of dragon blood. Chapter 841, Invitation Card. The rarity of a dragon seed could be said to be the backbone of the entire dragon palace. It was where the power of the dragon palace lay. However, in the system, there was no price for a dragon seed. In other words, it was not something that he could buy at the moment. After completing the mission of ruling the Earth's oceans, he would be able to obtain a dragon seed, the thorned dragon seed. The thorned dragon seed was known to be the strongest dragon seed in the dragon palace for assassination. I wonder how it compares to the strange demon clan. Wang Xian thought to himself. In the current dragon palace, he felt that the golden swordfish clan and the strange demon clan had the greatest potential, especially the strange demon clan. He could definitely threaten existences of a higher level than him. There were many formations and materials in the treasure trove, but these were not things that he could use. Wang Xian took a glance and turned them off immediately. Dominate the Earth's oceans. Wang Xian looked ahead with his eyes shining. With the current strength of the Dragon Palace, they could completely dominate the entire Earth's oceans. However, I can still wait for now. Wang Xian narrowed his eyes slightly and revealed a smile. He could definitely wait for now that the spiritual energy from the supernatural continent had just poured into Earth. It was time for the creatures in the oceans to benefit, especially those powerful creatures. They might be able to reach the immortal level soon. At that time, he could completely reap the harvest. Submit or die. If he submitted, the Dragon Palace would gain a group of powerful subordinates. And if he killed them, he could use their dragon blood to cultivate a group of subordinates. It was a perfect solution. Brother, you've made a breakthrough. Xiao Xian, have you made a breakthrough? Xiao Yu, Guan Shuqing, and the other girls ran over and asked Wang Xian excitedly. Yes. Wang Xian nodded with a smile. He swept his gaze across the girls and said, Next, all of you have to cultivate well. Try to complete the first change as soon as possible and reach the Transcendence realm. Only Transcendence can truly step into cultivation. Don't worry. In a year or two at most, we will be able to break through to the Transcendence realm. Let's go and celebrate. Xiao Yu and the rest walked happily into the Dragon King's bedroom. Wang Xian smiled. In the following period of time, Wang Xian and the rest stayed in the Dragon Palace and began to train again. In 2 to 3 days, one member of the Dragon Palace advanced to the immortal level. Wang Xian did not pay attention to the changes on land. During this period of time, he dealt with the situation in the Dragon Palace. Preaching, patrolling the ocean, and cultivating. Lan Qingyue, Guan Shuqing, and a few other girls accompanied Wang Xian every day. Only Xiao Yu went out for a period of time, from time to time. Even her cultivation was abandoned. Wang Xian smiled at this and did not stop her. Xiao Yu was already 23 or 24 years old. Even a girl as old as her hometown had a child. Now that he thought about it, Xiao Yu was already at the age to get married. Time passed slowly. A year might not be long, but to the Dragon Palace and the entire Earth it was a huge change. Brother! Wang Xian was playing with Guan Shuqing, Lan Qingyue, and the rest in the bedroom when Xiao Yu ran in and shouted at him. Hey! Xiao Yu is back from her date with her lover. How rare! She has been away for almost a month. Guan Shuqing teased Xiao Yu. I hate sister-in-law. It hasn't even been a month yet. Brother! This is an invitation from the Yuan clan. They asked me to pass it to you. Xiao Yu took a card and handed it to Wang Xian. What invitation? What's the matter? Wang Xian took the invitation card. It was an invitation card, and he asked curiously, Yu Wenhua from the Yuan clan is getting married to the daughter of the celestial king of the Nordic divine realm. He is going to get married and has invited all the forces on Earth. Naturally, he will also invite you, brother. Xiao Yu walked over with a smile and held Wang Xian's arm as she said, A marriage alliance? I really didn't expect that. They should all be immortals, right? Yes, Yuan Hua's cultivation has reached the realm of immortals. Oh right, brother. Your disciple, Xiaoran, has also reached the realm of immortals a few days ago. Xiao Yu introduced to Wang Xian. Do you want to go out this time? You've been in the sea for a year. Go and take a look at what's happening outside. The changes outside are very, very great. Now, the Eastern and Western immortal sects and the divine realm have basically merged together. This marriage alliance between the Northern European divine realm, the strongest force in the West, and the Yuan clan is considered to be of historical significance. It's time to go out and take a look. As for whether we should go or not, we'll see when the time comes. Wang Xian nodded his head slowly. Sister-in-law, let's go together. Now that the spiritual energy has impacted, the earth has changed a lot. It's very beautiful outside. Xiao Yu said to Guan Shuqing and the rest. All right, Xiao Yu. Should we let that Feng Lingtian come over to meet the parents? Elder brother is like a father. Guan Shuqing and the rest nodded with a smile. Xiao Yu stuck out her tongue this time and didn't refute. Let's go back to Jiang City to take a look first. Wang Xian thought for a moment and said, All right, let's see how the world outside is changing. Wang Xian and the rest flew out. Master. Just as they walked out of the Dragon Palace, a huge creature shouted at Lan Qingyue. Lan Qingyue flew over, touched its nose and flew outside. Lan Qingyue's first Kuan had already reached 400 meters in size. As for her strength, she had already reached the first stage of transcendence. She was even stronger than Lan Qingyue. In the current Dragon Palace, other than Wang Xian, the second person to advance to transcendence was the Hydra Ao Jiu. The third person was the Kuan. Secondly, in the current Dragon Palace, there were already more than 280 immortal level members. Among them, there were more immortal level members in the strange demon clan. There were a total of 100 of them. There were also 30 members in the golden swordfish clan. This time, there were 4 of them who were with Wang Xian. Ao Jian was an upper-level immortal, and there were 3 middle-level golden swordfish. As he flew toward Jiang City, Wang Xian saw the trees below. They were at least 40 to 50 meters tall and thick. The entire sky was blue as well. The impact of the spiritual energy had changed the surrounding environment. Earth had already switched from technology to cultivation. It was said that even the school had become an ancient martial arts academy. Everything was because of the Empress, Feng Yuan. This could also be considered as indirectly helping the humans on Earth to evolve. Rack. At this moment, shouts came from the sky. A few hundred people rode their horses and galloped over. This horse was not an ordinary horse, but a Pegasus. It was able to fly in the sky and possessed the strength of a dance stage cultivator. The great changes in the world had benefited not only humans, but also some fierce beasts. Dance stage cultivators could fly in the sky, so there were many people flying in the sky. Some people were even riding on beasts. They were incomparably domineering. Haha, the group in front is the destination. We just happened to be asking for directions. A soft shout rang out, and the group immediately let out a loud roar as the Pegasus charged over. Boom, boom, boom. Hundreds of Pegasus gave off a feeling as if there were thousands of soldiers and horses charging over. Chapter 842. Didn't know who he was. Huh. Xiao Yu and the others rode their horses and flew toward them with a curious look on their faces. They are from the west. Looking at the color of their faces, Guan Shuqing immediately said. However, they didn't pay attention to her. They flew slowly while admiring the scenery around them. Boom, boom, boom. At this moment, the Pegasus flew toward the sky above them. Yu. Ao. Suddenly, the terrified cries of horses could be heard. Fuck, what's going on? What's going on? Bang! Ah, what's going on? The screams of horses and the gasps of the crowd could be heard. The entire scene was extremely chaotic. Over 500 people were able to stabilize the Pegasus. The Pegasus roared in fear and agitation. Their bodies could not help but retreat backwards. Xiao Yu and the rest could not help but laugh when they saw the scene of the Pegasus falling from 1,000 meters in the sky. Earlier on, this group of people wanted to fly to the top of their heads on their Pegasus. However, when the Pegasus approached them, they felt a power that made their hearts palpitate. Animals had a very strong bloodline suppression, especially when the other party was stronger than them. Wang Xian, Xiao Yu, and the rest had already reached the first transformation of the divine dragon transformation, not to mention Wang Xian. Xiao Yu and the rest also possessed the bloodline of the divine dragon. This group of Pegasus didn't dare to ride on top of their heads. Their instinctive fear made them stop in fear. What's going on? At this moment, the sound of 2 horses' hooves stepping on the air was heard. A cold voice was heard. 2 horses slowly flew over. These 2 horses were extremely tall. There was a horn in the middle of their heads. They looked like divine beasts. A man and a woman sat on the horses. The man had long golden hair and was extremely handsome. The woman also had long golden hair. She had a proud expression on her face. Divine Son, we don't know either. When the Pegasus flew here just now, they suddenly stopped in fear. A girl rubbed the spot where her forehead touched and spoke to the young man and woman. The young man swept his gaze across the Pegasus and looked ahead slowly. When he saw that Wang Xian and the rest had left, his face was expressionless. Everyone in front, did you just leave after making fun of the people from the Roman celestial domain? When Wang Xian and the rest heard the voice from behind, they turned their heads around with a smile. We didn't make a move. Xiao Yu spread out her hands with a smile on her face. You guys are the only ones here. If you guys didn't make a move, could it be that there are others? The young man looked at them with an expressionless face. According to the 15th rule of the Roman celestial realm, anyone who offends the oracle core will have their arm chopped off. The golden-haired goddess raised her head slightly and announced the sentence. Their words caused Wang Xian and the rest to frown slightly. The people from the celestial domain have always been arrogant. Xiao Yu snorted coldly. She obviously knew something about the celestial domain. You don't know which immortal sect we are from. Guan, Shu Qing looked at them curiously. Xianyuan, Yuan, or Beast Immortal Sect. Even if it's these 3 sects, you have to pay a little price for what you did just now. The young divine son said proudly. Hee, how interesting. Little Xian, no one knows you now. Guan, Shu Qing, and the others felt very interesting when they heard the young divine son's words. It had only been more than a year, yet there were people who did not know the Dragon King. However, it made sense when they thought about it. This year was the year of the Earth's great change. There were many prodigies, and at most, an immortal would appear every week. The Dragon Palace had not appeared for more than a year. Furthermore, the other party was from the west, so he did not know Wang Xian at all. Now the world did not recognize him. What price did you pay? Wang Xian asked in amusement. Looks like you guys are not from the 3 great immortal sects of China. Then, each of you shall have 1 arm. The blonde goddess landed on her Pegasus and looked down at the judge. As she spoke, she moved her arm and a sharp gemstone sword appeared in her hand. She said indifferently, Do you want to do it, or do you want me to do it? I'll do it. At this moment, a golden swordfish behind Wang Xian said coldly. The moment he finished speaking, he started to move. A radius of 4 to 5 kilometers was filled with beams of golden light. These beams of golden light seemed to cut through the entire space. Let's go. Wang Xian took a glance indifferently and continued flying forward. Xiao Yu, Guan Shuqing, and the rest looked at him mockingly. The people of the divine realm call themselves gods in the West and are worshipped by others. However, when they come to the east, they have to keep a low profile. Xiao Yu said with slight disdain. Ah, my arm. At this moment, a terrified scream came from behind. No, no, my arm. All of their faces were filled with shock. They stared in disbelief at their right arm. Over 500 people had their right arms chopped off. How is this possible, However, the two divine sons and goddesses seated on the two enormous Pegasus had cold sweat on their foreheads, and their eyes were filled with terror. Their right arms were also completely empty. In an instant attack. A god, or at least a god, he actually dares to directly attack us. The two sealed the wounds on their arms, gritting their teeth as they spoke in terror. They hadn't expected that their opponent would actually be an immortal god, and a god who was even stronger than them. If they had known, they wouldn't have spoken out about the trial, and they wouldn't have been so arrogant. However, the other party actually dared to directly cut off one of their arms without any mercy. This made their faces incomparably gloomy. Damn it, he actually dared to directly cut off all of our arms. I want my father to kill them. The young divine son roared in a sinister and low voice. They were only divine sons who had just advanced to a mortal god. Having their arms cut off, they needed a large number of medicinal pills to recover. Besides them, there were also a group of experts from the Roman celestial domain who had their arms cut off. If all of them recovered, it would be a considerable amount of resources. The Western gods were basically the descendants of gods. In other words, it was very likely that their ancestors had gods and their descendants would have a chance to become gods. It was even more so now. Divine sons were the descendants of gods. They cultivated to become gods and did not inherit the divine throne. The expression of the goddess beside him changed drastically. As the descendant of the god of beauty and love, she was very concerned about her image. Now, one of her arms had been chopped off. In the grand scene that followed, wouldn't it be embarrassing for her mother? Just you wait. The goddess gritted her teeth. Her expression was a little ferocious. Wang Xian did not pay much attention to the small episode just now. At this moment, the so-called gods were just some people with strong cultivation. On Earth, they were immortals and deities. On the supernatural continent, they were just frogs in a well. Chapter 843, Meeting the Parents. With the current strength of the Dragon Palace, Wang Xian did not dare to claim that he could sweep across the entire Earth. However, it would not be a problem for him to sweep across the entire Western Divine Realm. Therefore, when the goddess spoke about the judgment from above, the golden swordfish beside him would make a move without him saying a word. A mere lower immortal dared to be so arrogant. It was already a sign of forgiveness that he did not kill them directly. If there were people who dared to provoke the ancient emperors, their heads would have long fallen. Although Wang Xian was not an emperor now, he could already unify the earth if he wanted to be the king and dominate the world. After returning to Jiang City, great changes had taken place in the city. The environment had changed for the better, and the surrounding trees had grown taller. When they arrived in the city, there were more people flying in the sky. There were at least 1,000 people flying on swords. These people were at least at the Xiantian realm. In the past, a Xiantian master could suppress an entire region. Now, there were as many Xiantian masters as dogs. Let's call our old friends and have a chat. Wang Xian looked at the floating island in front of the villa. This floating island was given to Xiao Yu for him to play with. On it, the Azure Dragon and the other Draconids were taking care of it. The auction was still held normally. It could be considered one of the few properties of the Dragon Palace in the human world. Dragon King. A group of Draconids flew over. Wang Xian swept his gaze across them and revealed a faint smile on his face. 20 immortals. Not bad. As Wang Xian had been staying in the Dragon Palace, these Draconids had been following Xiao Yu's orders. However, Xiao Yu did not need the Draconids. Hence, they had been staying on the floating island. Call Old Shui Old Qin, Old Wang, Dahai, and the rest over. Tell them to come back and treat them to a meal." Wang Xian ordered Mo Qinglong. "It's the Dragon King." The group of draconids nodded their heads respectfully. "Xiao Yu, did you call that brat over? He took away my precious little sister. It's about time to meet him after such a long time." After Wang Xian gave his instructions, he said to Xiao Yu, who was beside him, "Brother, this." Xiao Yu was a little shy and didn't know what to say. "Go. The matter of Feng Lingtian is a problem in the future. Soon, I will be going to another world. Therefore, the matters on Earth must be resolved as soon as possible." Wang Xian said to Xiao Yu with a serious tone this time. Entering the extraordinary mainland was inevitable. Whether Xiao Yu wanted to follow and how Feng Lingtian should deal with it were both troublesome matters. Whether Feng Lingtian should join the Dragon Palace or not, he would have to make a decision when the time came. "All right, brother." Xiao Yu also put away her willfulness and nodded. She was also conflicted about the future. She was 100% unwilling to leave her brother who had been protecting her. However, she did not wish to be separated from Feng Lingtian either. "Then I'll make a trip to the Yellow Heaven Immortal Sect." Xiao Yu said to Wang Xian, "Don't go. Let them come over." Wang Xian said directly. Xiao Yu stuck out her tongue when she heard her brother cut her off. She knew her brother's intention. She and Feng Lingtian were on two different levels. Speaking of which, Feng Lingtian was on a higher level. Naturally, Wang Xian couldn't let his sister suffer. He wouldn't let her suffer in the future either. Naturally, he had to show some dignity. "All right, brother. Don't worry. Lingtian wouldn't dare to make me angry," Xiao Yu said with a smile. Wang Xian smiled with a straight face. "All right, I'll accompany Shu Qing and Qingyue for a stroll. You settle your own matters first." Following that, Wang Xian accompanied Guan Shuqing, Lan Qingyue, and the rest to their home. He also sent someone to invite Tang Yinxuan's family over. The few girls would be members of the Dragon Palace in the future. Naturally, he had to make some arrangements. Then he chatted with his two old friends in Jiang City. 2 days passed by quickly. On the morning of the third day, a group of people welcomed them from the floating island. "Brother, Lingtian, his father, and the people from the Yellow Heaven Immortal Sect are here," Xiao Yu said to Wang Xian with a slightly red face. "Let's go out and take a look." Wang Xian smiled and nodded. Xiao Yu held his shoulder and walked out. In the leisure area of the floating island, there was a huge villa. In front of the villa was an empty space with a pond in the middle. At this moment, at the entrance, a group of over 200 people were standing on the ground in front of them. 6 immortals. Wang Xian swept his gaze over. The foundation of the Yellow Heaven Immortal Sect was not bad. There were already 6 immortals, and Xiao Ran was among them. Sect leaderling Xiao had also reached the upper immortal realm. Dragon King. Ling Xiao immediately cupped his hands respectfully when he saw Wang Xian coming out. Although Wang Xian was Xiao Yu's brother, his elder brother was like a father. They were of equal seniority. However, in terms of strength, the Yellow Heaven Immortal Sect was still far behind. Even the current Yellow Heaven Immortal Sect was still very weak compared to the Dragon Palace. He had never dared to imagine that his son could climb up to the Dragon King's sister. "Haha, sect leaderling, everyone, please come in." Wang Xian extended his hand and greeted them. "Dragon King, sorry to bother you." Ling Xiao smiled, but was still a little reserved. After all, the person in front of him was a terrifying existence who had destroyed the holy Dr. Holy Medicine Immortal Sect. Feng Lingtian followed by the side nervously and secretly looked at Xiao Yu. His father was cautious, so he was even more nervous. The person in front of him was the Dragon King. Wang Xian saw Xiao Ran beside them and waved his hand. "Master." Xiao Ran immediately walked over and said respectfully. Xiao Ran was the disciple of the Dragon King. Everyone in the Yellow Heaven Immortal sect knew about this. Otherwise, even if Xiao Ran's talent was extraordinary, he would not have stepped into the immortal realm. The resources of the Yellow Heaven Immortal sect were biased towards him. Even if Xiao Ran was an outsider, no one in the entire immortal sect dared to say anything. On the contrary, they wanted nothing more than to nurture Xiao Ran properly. However, Xiao Ran did not disappoint. He had already reached the immortal realm at the age of 19. "You've grown a lot taller." Wang Xian patted Xiao Ran, who was shoulder to shoulder with him. Some things had changed, but people had changed. The little guy who was 6 meters tall had now grown taller. Xiao Ran smiled foolishly. His eyes were filled with gratitude. "Where's your ancestor? In the past, he took Shu Qing as his disciple. In the past, your master's wife was in a coma. Now, you have to thank him properly." Wang Xian asked Xiao Ran, "Master, ancestor didn't follow us in the celestial sect. Should I inform him?" Xiao Ran said immediately, "There's no need. Your master's wife will go there herself. I'll give you some pointers on your cultivation later." "Yes, it's master." Xiao Ran nodded excitedly. After entering the hall, Wang Xian gestured to Ling Xiao and the others. Ao Jian and the other 3 stood by the side with their swords in hand. Mo Qinglong and the other draconids immediately prepared tea. Xiao Ran also stood by Wang Xian's side. When the remaining 3 immortals from the Yellow Heaven Immortal sect saw this scene, they stood by the side obediently and did not dare to sit down. Since the others did not sit down, Feng Lingtian did not dare to sit down either. He stood by his father's side. It was too restrictive. Nowadays, although the number of immortals had increased by 2 to 3 times, they were still immortals after all. They would be honored guests wherever they went. However, in the Dragon King's place, the immortals served tea and stood by the side to protect him. Chapter 844, Grand Wedding. For the first time, the immortal gods of the Yellow Heaven Immortal sect had the illusion that even the immortal gods were inferior to them. It was absolutely impossible for a dignified immortal god to serve tea and pour water at the side. The immortal gods were high and mighty, revered by tens of thousands of people, and worshipped by everyone. Now, they didn't even have the right to sit down. They glanced at the few immortal gods. In the entire room, there were 6 immortal gods. 1 stood by the door, 1 served tea and poured water, and 4 sword-wielding immortal gods stood on both sides of the sofa. This sort of casual display was not something their Yellow Heaven Immortal sect could compare to. The 3 immortal gods looked at each other, and a bitter smile appeared in their eyes. According to the Dragon Palace's original strength, the number of immortal gods in the Dragon Palace now would not be less than 30. There was a possibility of approaching 40 to 50 immortal gods. 40 to 50 was already very terrifying when one thought about it. Now, the number of immortal gods in the Xianyuan clan was only 25 on the surface. Dragon King, these are some small gifts. Consider them gifts for our first meeting. There had to be a proper process. The first time they came, they had to prepare a gift. Wang Xian was not too domineering. After a simple discussion, they sat down and had a meal together. This was not considered a marriage engagement, nor was there any talk about marriage between a man and a woman. Perhaps Ling Xiao felt that he was not qualified to talk about this matter, so he did not say much. Wang Xian did not talk about this matter either. This was left to his sister to decide. The meal was considered to be a feast for both guests and hosts. In the afternoon, Wang Xian called Xiao Ran to the courtyard at the back. Phew! Seeing Wang Xian leave, Feng Lingtian heaved a heavy sigh of relief. Ling Xiao also felt relieved instantly. His gaze swept across Ao Jian and the rest who had left, and a bitter look appeared on his face. Sect Master, why do I feel so much pressure in front of the Dragon King? Even if he didn't release any aura, he still gives off a feeling of superiority. An immortal god said softly. Ling Xiao shook his head slowly. Of the 4 immortal gods of swordsmen, just now, the one in the middle has the strength of a superior immortal, and the other 3 are middle immortals. The 3 immortal gods beside him widened their eyes in shock. In other words, just the 4 subordinates of the Dragon King could destroy their Yellow Heaven immortal sect. All right, let's not lose our manners here. Tomorrow, we'll go to the Yuan clan with the Dragon King. Ling Xiao said with a smile. He learned more from his son. For example, there were more than a dozen immortal gods on the floating island who listened to Xiao Yu's orders. Those immortal gods were once experts of the Dragon Gate. The strength of the Dragon Palace was definitely unfathomable. According to his estimation, there were at least 60 immortals. Your strength is not bad, but don't be arrogant. The so-called realm of immortals is not the peak. I will teach you a set of martial arts that can be cultivated to a higher realm. In the backyard, Wang Xian stood beside Xiao Ran and said to him. Xiao Ran's heart skipped a beat. He nodded his head heavily and asked, Master, what is above immortals? Above immortals are transcendence. Sit on the ground with your legs crossed. Wang Xian didn't say much. If he said too much, it would be bad for him and would affect his faith. There was no limit to cultivation. Xiao Ran immediately sat on the ground with his legs crossed. Wang Xian opened his mouth and the fire dragon bead appeared. It was a fire dragon pearl of the extraordinary level. In the past year, he had cultivated the fire dragon pearl and the wood dragon pearl to the first level of the extraordinary level. The water spirit pearl was only at the level of a superior immortal. The consumption of cultivating the dragon pearl was still very high. He obtained the cultivation method from Feng Wan. A fire attribute cultivation method was also considered a top-notch cultivation method in the extraordinary continent. In the system treasury, there were also fire attribute attacks, but the exchange price was too high. After imparting the cultivation method to Xiao Ran, the fire dragon pearl's majestic flames began to refine his body. Now, Wang Xian's strength was much higher than his. He could completely refine his body. After some refinement, Xiao Ran's strength had faintly reached the level of a middle-level immortal. It might not take long for him to achieve a breakthrough. For a person who had just entered the immortal god realm, it was as if he had eaten a divine medicine. When the immortals from the Yellow Heaven immortal sect saw Xiao Ran, their eyes widened in disbelief. This made them feel that the Dragon King was simply unfathomable and had probably reached an even higher realm. Dragon King, this marriage between the Yuan clan and the daughter of the Scandinavian god realm's god king can be said to involve all the powerful forces in the east and west. The Scandinavian god realm is the most powerful god realm in the west, and the Yuan clan is one of the top existences in the east. Therefore, this marriage has formed a terrifying alliance. In the past, the Yuan clan and the Scandinavian god realm had some cooperation. After the marriage, in the entire East, no one dared to provoke the Yuan clan. In the West, the Scandinavian god realm is an invincible existence. They will be the largest joint force on Earth. Therefore, for this wedding, all the immortal sects and immortal gods will come to congratulate us. Even all the god realms in the Western god realm will have immortal gods come to hold the wedding for the bride. The next afternoon, everyone flew toward the Yuan clan. Wang Xian initially did not want to go, but Xiao Yu wanted to drag him over. She made it sound like she wanted to get married in the future and that she could learn from the experiences of others when she wanted to get married. Wang Xian could not persuade her, so he followed her over. The relationship between the Yuan clan and the Dragon Palace had some conflicts in the past. However, after exchanging the artifact of the Celestials for the array formation, their relationship eased up a little. It could be considered as an ordinary relationship. Does such a force still need a marriage alliance? Wang Xian smiled. It can't be considered a marriage alliance. Yuan Hua of the Yuan clan is in love with the daughter of the God King of the Northern European Divine Territory. This has further increased the concern between them. Currently, they are the strongest in the entire earth. Ling Xiao continued to speak to Wang Xian. Wang Xian smiled and nodded slowly. This time, he came with the idea of learning experience. He might need it in the near future. It's just ahead. Half an hour later, Ling Xiao pointed in front of him. Wang Xian looked over. There were huge balloons floating in the sky. The mountains and trees below were decorated with festive streamers. In the ancient city beside them, there were even lanterns and streamers. Groups of Yuan clan's disciples were flying in the sky to organize the order. Flying was prohibited. The entire scene was extremely huge. Western faces could be seen everywhere. There were even some cute and festive-looking Swiss. It was known as the grandest wedding of the century. It would be held today. Everyone from the Yellow Heaven Immortal sect, please follow me. A celestial being from the Yuan clan noticed their arrival and immediately came to welcome them. When he saw Wang Xian, he was stunned for a moment. Then he quickly greeted the Dragon King respectfully. Dragon King, sect leader Ling, please come in. Please come in. The attitude of this celestial being from the Yuan clan had obviously changed a lot. He respectfully brought them to the wedding venue. Chapter 845. Enemies on a Narrow Road. The wedding venue was in the air. That's right, it was in the air. 200 meters high in the air, it was level with the surrounding mountains. A water blue energy supported all the objects. This was the power of the formation. The surrounding mountains had all kinds of trees and flowers, making the surroundings exceptionally beautiful. In the center, there was a huge spring, spraying water, making the entire wedding venue seem like a dream. On the array formation, there were tables placed. An entire wedding scene could gather 2,000 to 3,000 people. On the surrounding mountain peaks, there were also many tables and chairs placed, causing those who didn't have the qualifications to enter to have a viewing area. Wow, it's so beautiful. Xiao Yu looked at his surroundings with a face full of shock. There were even some flower petals at his feet that were filled with romance. In the future, we will build a formation that is even higher than theirs. It will be at a height of 1,000 meters. Feng Lingtian whispered from the side. Are you going to fly into the sky? Xiao Yu rolled her eyes at him and said with a smile, He, our Yellow Heaven Immortal sect, also has a formation. We can totally support a place that is 1,000 meters high. I don't want it. I will get my brother to set it up on the ocean. The ocean is so beautiful. Xiao Yu and Feng Lingtian were chatting while Wang Xian scanned his surroundings. At this moment, more than 1,000 people had arrived at the wedding venue. There were immortals from the various immortal sects, as well as those from the Western Divine Realm. As he scanned his surroundings, he discovered at least 80 to 90 immortals. 80 to 90 immortals was not a small number. There would be at least 100 or even 200 immortals present today. This was almost equivalent to half of the power of the entire Earth. The marriage between two powerful forces has attracted the attention of the entire world. All the immortals from the major immortal sects will be here. Ling Zhao's gaze swept across the sect leaders of the immortal sects around him, especially those immortal sects that were not very strong. They had mobilized almost all the immortals to show their respect. After this marriage, the Yuan clan was definitely in existence that no force could afford to offend. Dragon King, we will send a gift. Are you going? Ling Xiao said to Wang Xian. Since you are here, I will naturally send you a gift. Wang Xian nodded his head lightly. The wedding ceremony this time was still a continuation of the ancient Chinese tradition. There was a separate place to collect gifts. Wang Xian and Ling Xiao walked over. Many immortals from the immortal sects were sending gifts. Feng Yan Immortal Sect presents a grade 9 spiritual herb, concentric flower. Immortal Slaying Sect presents a whetstone. The Ji clan presents a celestial artifact. Wang Xian and Ling Xiao came inside and heard voices. All of them are spiritual artifacts that are on par with immortals. This gift is really valuable. Wang Xian raised his eyebrows and said plainly, "The other immortal sects will naturally want to express their goodwill when these two major forces are in a marriage alliance. Therefore, the gifts can be comparable to a spirit weapon of the level of immortals." Ling Xiao said softly at the side. Wang Xian smiled faintly. He didn't really care about the level of immortal weapons. A year ago, the members of the Dragon Palace discovered a metal mine. Wang Xian used level 13 metal materials to forge a lot of immortal weapons. However, Wang Xian didn't think much of this celestial artifact now. This item was far inferior to transcendent level weapons. He casually took out a hairpin. The effect was useless. It was useless as a weapon and couldn't be used as a defense. It was just that it looked better, and the materials were more precious. However, in terms of materials, it was indeed a celestial artifact. Wang Xian was not here to show his goodwill. He simply gave her an item that was not valuable but could be used. This hairpin was refined by Shu Qing. Feng Wan had imparted all her experience in refining artifacts and elixirs to her. Now, Shu Qing's skills in refining artifacts and elixirs were also very strong. "It's you. Damn that guy. He's from the Yellow Heaven Immortal Sect." At this moment, a voice was heard through gritted teeth. "Huh." Wang Xian, Ling Xiao, and the rest raised their eyebrows slightly and turned their heads to look. Enemies have a narrow road. Wang Xian's gaze swept across the young man and woman, and a faint sneer appeared on his face. "Mind your words. Last time it was your arm. Next time it will be your dog life." Ao Jian, who was standing behind Wang Xian, swept his gaze across the two of them coldly. A hint of killing intent flashed in his eyes. "Your puny Yellow Heaven Immortal Sect actually dared to provoke our Roman celestial domain. I think you are courting death." The young divine son's face was extremely gloomy. 3 days ago his arm had been chopped off. They could only go back the way they came. Although their arms had been healed, the rest of the disciples were still recuperating. The reason why they came again this time was firstly to attend the wedding. Most importantly, it was to find the murderer. Revenge. However, what he didn't expect was that the other party was actually a member of the Yellow Heaven Immortal Sect. A small Yellow Heaven Immortal Sect actually dared to provoke them. Ling Xiao and a few immortals from the Yellow Heaven Immortal Sect watched this scene in astonishment. They looked at Wang Xian and then at the young man and woman. This was probably a retard. He actually didn't know the Dragon King. More than a year ago, the Dragon King directly killed 8 immortals from the Garden of Eden. The other party didn't even dare to fart. Now, you actually dared to provoke him. Was he too stubborn, or was his brain damaged? Retard. Wang Xian shook his head in disdain and walked straight in. Stop right there. His arm had been chopped off, and now he was being looked down upon as the divine sons and goddesses of a region. When had he ever suffered such humiliation? They shouted coldly out of embarrassment and anger. Huh. Some people around heard his cold shout and looked over curiously. In this situation, who was so rude? Speak. Wang Xian, the son of God, paused for a moment and turned around to look at them impatiently. Then he spat out a word coldly. This is... The immortals from the Fengyan Immortal Sect, the Ji clan, and the other immortal sects were stunned when they saw Wang Xian. Their eyes were filled with astonishment. It's the Dragon King. I didn't expect the Dragon King to be here. Today is Philomena's wedding. We won't touch you. After the wedding is over, you can just wait for your death. At this moment, another shocking voice came from the surroundings. All the immortals looked at the young man and woman, their faces filled with astonishment. Let the Dragon King wait for his death. Which divine realm are they from? How can they be so awesome? They actually let the Dragon King wait for his death. A newborn calf is not afraid of a tiger. The person who said this to the Dragon King is already dead. It seems to be someone from the Roman celestial domain. There are more than 20 immortals in the Roman celestial domain. This time, more than a dozen immortals have come. He's really retarded. A person from the Roman celestial domain actually dares to provoke the Dragon King. When the surrounding immortals heard their words, their faces revealed mocking expressions. There were really people who didn't know death. Although the Dragon King and the Dragon Palace hadn't appeared for more than a year, no one doubted the strength of the Dragon Palace. How could a small Roman divine realm contend with them? The young divine son and goddess suddenly heard the discussions around them, and her face stiffened. Chapter 846. Dragon King. The expressions on their faces changed, and then became interesting. They had never met the Dragon King, nor had they met the people from the Dragon Palace. They had only become immortals in the last year. But they also knew the name of the Dragon King, the only person who dared to directly kill the 8 gods of the divine realm. The Dragon King of the Dragon Palace. The 8 gods of the Garden of Eden had been killed, and it had once caused a great commotion in the West. However, in the end, what surprised everyone in the divine realm was that the matter was finally settled. In the end, the people of the divine realm learned that the Dragon Palace was the most powerful force in the East. They had once dispatched 18 immortal gods to destroy 2 terrifying immortal sections. At that time, they had dispatched 2 high-level immortals to kill one of the other high-level immortals. When this news came out, it shocked all the divine realms. 2 high-level immortals and 18 immortal gods. There were not many people who could rival this power. Later, it was said that the Dragon King had subdued another high-level immortal, which shocked all the other forces again. With such terrifying strength, perhaps only the Nordic divine realm could suppress the Dragon Palace. They did not expect that they had provoked the most powerful force in the East, which made them feel terrified. Dragon King. At this moment, another wave came before the peace. The situation here attracted the attention of many people. A group of more than 20 immortals walked over with some of their children. In the middle, there was a burly old man. The old man stared at Wang Xian coldly, his eyes filled with killing intent. Mad God. It's Mad God, the leader of all the gods in the Garden of Eden. Mad God. Hiss! I didn't expect Mad God of the Garden of Eden to come here personally. Not only the divine realm of the Garden of Eden, there are also the gods of the ancient Greek divine realm. Everyone was slightly shocked again. Mad God, the leader of the gods in the Garden of Eden, was also one of the top experts of today. Seeing them staring at the Dragon King coldly, everyone understood. The Dragon King had killed 8 gods in the Garden of Eden back then. If you don't want to die, don't bother me. Wang Xian swept his gaze across all of them and said indifferently, Hiss! The corner of the mouth of the Mad God and all the surrounding gods could not help but twitch. Domineering as ever. Even someone as strong as the Mad God did not dare to say anything. The current Garden of Eden was far inferior to the Dragon Palace. They would only be able to fight against the Dragon Palace if they joined forces with the ancient Greeks. Everyone, today is the joyous day of our Yuan clan and the Northern European divine realm. I hope that everyone can give us some face. A few immortals from the Yuan clan saw the situation here and hurriedly walked over with cupped fists. The 2 middle-aged men looked at the Dragon King and cupped their fists to express their gratitude. Hee. Thank you, Dragon King, for being able to attend our nephew's wedding despite your busy schedule. No need. Wang Xian shook his head lightly. It was not appropriate for him to cause trouble at someone else's wedding venue, even though there were a few people who were courting death. He walked to the place where he handed in the gifts and delivered them. Ling Xiao also delivered a celestial artifact that he had prepared. After delivering the gifts, Wang Xian and the rest walked out. At this moment, he felt something and looked to the side. When he looked over, he met a gaze that was filled with hatred. Wang Xian pondered for a moment and thought of this young man's name. It was Yu Wenyue, Yu Wenhua's younger brother. I didn't expect to meet so many people who have grudges against me. Wang Xian smiled gently. He didn't think much of it and sat down at the side. At this moment, Yu was standing beside the two young divine sons and goddesses of the Roman divine territory. Brother Yu, what's wrong? Do you have a grudge with the Dragon King? The young divine son asked with a slightly embarrassed expression. Irreconcilable. Yu's face was filled with grief and indignation, and her eyes were filled with frost. My fiancé was killed by the Dragon King's men. Yu realized that she was too emotional. She took a deep breath and added, Huh. The young divine son and goddess were slightly stunned and said with a sullen face, It's a pity that the Dragon King is too powerful. Not long ago, he cut off the arms of all of us in the Roman divine realm. I'm really not reconciled to this grudge. Okay, sister-in-law asked me to call everyone over to gather. Yu calmed her mind and said to them. Then she called over the young divine sons and goddesses from the Garden of Eden divine realm, ancient Greek divine realm, and other divine realms. The array was connected to a mountain peak in the middle of the east. This mountain peak was the tallest one around. One was surrounded by flowers and thorns, and there was a cave entrance in the middle. In a moment, the bride and groom would come out from this cave. The group entered the cave. The entire cave was abnormally wide, and it was filled with the divine sons and goddesses of God's domain. Miranda, Amy. The group entered the cave. In the middle of the cave, a Western beauty wearing Eastern clothing waved at the group of people who entered with a smile on her face. Amy, you're late. Everyone else came 2 or 3 days ago. The Western beauty looked at the goddess and said with a smile, I encountered a small matter. The goddess from the Roman celestial domain squeezed out a smile. Philomena, I'm really sorry. It's okay. Why do you look a little pale? Philomena, who was good at observing people's expressions, looked at the few divine sons and goddesses and said with a bad expression, We met the Dragon King, so... The few divine sons and goddesses from ancient Greece and the Garden of Eden said with slight embarrassment. They then looked at the divine sons and goddesses from the Roman celestial domain. Amy and the others had an unintentional collision with the Dragon King not long ago, and one of their arms was directly cut off, so they went back. A few divine sons and goddesses added, Sai, forget it. We admit defeat. When the young divine son learned that it was the Dragon King, he said without the slightest bit of temper, Brother, if there's a chance in the future, I'll definitely cut off his head with my own hands. Yu Wenyue, who was silent at the side, suddenly whispered to Yu Wenhua. Yu Wenhua heavily patted his shoulder. Forget it. I'll ask your sister-in-law to find you another one in the future. What's wrong with Xiaoya? Philomena, who was at the side, saw that Yu Wenhua's expression was not good and asked curiously, It's okay. Today is our wedding day. Don't mention anything else. Yu Wenhua hugged Philomena's shoulder and whispered, Just say it. I won't be affected by these things. Don't worry, I'm very happy today. Philomena held onto Yu Wenhua's arm and said, Originally, Xiaoya was prepared to get engaged to a girl. In the end, that girl's power was destroyed by the Dragon King. As Yu Wenhua said this, his gaze turned slightly cold. The relationship between the two brothers was very deep. It could be seen from the time when Yu Wenyue was beaten up and Yu Wenhua directly challenged the Dragon Palace. Moreover, that challenge had also become a black spot in his life. It seems that this Dragon King is really annoying. Chapter 847 openly targeted him. Philomena slightly raised her eyebrows when she heard the words of the divine sons and goddesses of the Western divine realm and Yu Wenhua's words. He naturally knew the Dragon King very well. He was the most powerful force in the East and the master of the Dragon Palace. However, Philomena did not put the Dragon King in her eyes. She was the only daughter of the God King of the Nordic divine realm. There was only one God King in all the God realms at the moment, and that was the God King of the Scandinavian God realm, the King of all gods. This was the publicly recognized God King, and his strength was unfathomable. After the burst of spiritual energy, the Scandinavian God realm became even more powerful, and the Scandinavian God realm was faintly revered in the entire West. Before the burst of spiritual energy, the number of immortals and gods in the Scandinavian God realm had reached about 30, far surpassing the number of immortals and gods in the Dragon Palace by about 20. Now, she was even more confident that the Nordic region's strength was not something that the Dragon Palace could match, and her husband's Yuan clan was also a force that could not be underestimated. Now that they had a marriage alliance, they were definitely the most powerful force on Earth. From this wedding, it could be seen that all the Western region's divine domains had arrived. There were even leaders of the divine domains who had brought the gods to congratulate them. They are incomparably arrogant. They are relying on their own strength to not put anyone in their eyes. You said with an embarrassed expression, HMPH, they still think that they are invincible on Earth. If this Dragon King dares to provoke me, I will teach them a lesson. Philomena pouted and snorted coldly. Yuanhua smiled. This time, the Dragon King has come because of the invitation of our Yuan clan. This Dragon King can be considered as giving face and personally attending. Currently, the Scandinavian divine realm and the Yuan clan can be said to be the most powerful forces on Earth. This Dragon King naturally has to come and curry favor with them. That's right. I've heard of the Dragon King's reputation. He's very powerful, but he's still incomparable to the Scandinavian divine realm, not to mention the alliance between the two of you. This Dragon King also knows his own limits. He will only provoke those who are stronger than him, and he won't provoke you. Otherwise, he wouldn't have come personally today. It's clearly a show of goodwill. Some of the divine sons and goddesses of the divine realm said with some flattery. Philomena raised her head slightly with a proud face. As the daughter of the divine king, even the leader of the divine realm had to treat her as an equal. This was the power of the Nordic divine realm. The auspicious time has come. Young master, young lady, it's time to pay respects. At this moment, a voice came from outside. It was time for the ceremony. The wedding continued in the Chinese style. Compared to the modern style, it was more complicated. At the wedding venue, everyone sat at the tables and watched the bride and groom walk out. Boom, boom, boom. At this moment, a brilliant light appeared in the sky. There were places in China where the wedding was at noon, and there were places where it was at night. The Yuan clan's tradition was that it was at night. However, even at night, the entire wedding venue was decorated as if it was a white night. The sun had just set when multicolored rays of light appeared in the sky. This is too awesome, using a fire-attributed infant realm expert to release fireworks. The red flames in the center are even at the immortal god level. Moreover, they even found some experts who possess heaven and earth heavenly flames. What a big spending. As expected of the marriage alliance between the Yuan clan and the Northern European god domain, it's simply too powerful. There are quite a few people from the Northern European god's domain. There are 20 immortals here. Oh my god, this Northern European god's domain is really powerful. Their god king didn't come over, but the god queen did. When the bride and groom walked out, the flames released by the fire attribute experts soared into the sky. The surrounding people discussed in whispers. It's simply too beautiful. Xiao Yu looked at the fireworks in the sky and the beautiful scenes around her with an infatuated look. The wedding scene this time was indeed rather grand. Wang Xian was watching from the side with a smile on his face. There were some people looking over from time to time, but they quickly shifted their gazes over. Heaven and earth, parents. One by one, the process was completed in half an hour. After the process was completed, it was time for dinner. The bride and groom would come out to toast. Ling Tian and brother, have you learned anything? When you organize a wedding and help me organize a wedding, don't be too shabby. On the table, Xiao Yu, Wang Xian, Ling Xiao, and the rest were sitting at the same table. They were all smiling as they spoke to them. All right. I will definitely let you get married in a glorious manner in the future. Wang Xian smiled as he spoke to Xiao Yu. If I don't get married, brother, you can build me a big house in the Dragon Palace. In the future, I can bring Ling Tian to live in the Dragon Palace. Xiao Yu giggled as she spoke. All right. Wang Xian smiled as he nodded. You can live wherever you want in the future. The bride and groom are here to toast to our family and friends. At this moment, a voice came from the side. There were about 50 tables present. Among them, there were 2 to 3 immortal-level powerhouses at each table. There were no less than 150 immortal-level powerhouses present. According to the rules, the bride and groom came over to give a toast one table at a time. This was a form of wedding etiquette. Thank you for chasing away the sect leader of the Origin Immortal Sect. Thank you so much. Haha, congratulations. Congratulations on marrying such a beautiful wife. Come, let me toast to all of you. A polite voice came from the table next to them. Ling Xiao and the others from the Yellow Heaven Immortal Sect looked over and immediately filled their wine cups. Wang Xian's gaze swept across them. The bride and groom were toasting one by one. Beside them was a friend of the bride, Yu Wenhua. Yu Wenhua was also pouring wine beside them. They're here. Ling Xiao whispered. The Yellow Heaven Immortal Sect was not powerful and could not be compared to the Yuan clan, much less the Big Dipper divine territory. Therefore, he attached great importance to them. Uncles and uncles, thank you for attending our nephew's wedding. Yu Wenhua walked over and said to them with a smile on his face. Ling Xiao and the rest immediately stood up with smiles on their faces. When in Rome, do as the Romans do. Wang Xian also stood up. At the very least, he had to be polite. You are the Dragon King. At this moment, a clear and cold voice was heard. Wang Xian turned around and saw the bride sizing him up coldly. He could see some hostility in her eyes. Yes. The corners of Wang Xian's mouth curled up slightly as he nodded his head faintly. Oh, I've long heard that the Dragon King is extremely arrogant. I hope that you will give me some face when you meet people from the Western Divine Realm in the future. The corner of Philomena's mouth also curled up slightly as she said faintly. Hee, it's not about giving face. It's about fighting for it. It's about strength. Wang Xian said faintly. Hee, that's true. Therefore, I don't need to give you any face at all. Philomena nodded with a smile on her face. She turned to Yu Wenhua and said, Let's go. Let's go to the next table. Yu Wenhua was slightly taken aback. However, he quickly smiled and said, Yes, madam. Yu Wenhua revealed a mocking smile on her face. Chapter 848. A Toast to the Yellow Earth and a Toast to Death. The smile on Ling Xiao's face froze, and his expression changed drastically. He had never thought that a bride would treat a guest like this. And the person she treated was actually the Dragon King. This was a blatant humiliation. No matter what, a guest was a guest. You had to at least be polite. Even if there was enmity between the two parties, you couldn't show it on this occasion. This was under the gaze of more than 100 immortals, and under the gaze of all the powers on earth. This was simply a slap in the face. The surrounding people who were paying attention to this place were also stunned and revealed expressions of shock. This was especially so for the people from the Huaxiao Immortal Sect. Their faces revealed expressions of shock. Pum, what do you mean? Do you know how to be polite? Do you have any upbringing? When Xiaoyu saw this scene, an angry expression immediately appeared on her face. She heavily placed the wine glass on the table, making a loud noise. This time, everyone at the wedding banquet was attracted by the commotion. What's going on? What happened? All the immortals, gods, and experts who hadn't noticed the situation just now looked at this scene in shock. It seems that Princess Philomena directly ignored the Dragon King when she was toasting. No way. What's going on? How could she not give face to the Dragon King? Could it be that the Nordic celestial realm wants to kill the Dragon King's spirit? I just heard that the Dragon King cut off the arms of 2 divine sons and daughters and a group of celestial realm disciples a few days ago. She's not giving face to the Dragon King? This is a blatant slap in the face. Some of the immortal gods from the Huaxiao immortal sects were shocked when they saw the scene. The immortal gods' disciples who had yet to arrive widened their eyes in shock. They were filled with disbelief. He's not giving the Dragon King any face. Haha, good. Princess Philomena is not giving the Dragon King any face. He's embarrassing himself. Haha, this is so satisfying. This is interesting. Isn't your Dragon King arrogant? You still dare to be arrogant in front of our Princess Philomena? HMPH, now the Dragon King has lost a lot of face. He came to attend the wedding, but the bride didn't give him face at all. Haha, this is great. The Western domain of gods and divine sons and daughters watched this scene with smiles on their faces, especially the gods from the Garden of Eden, ancient Greece and Rome. They all looked at this scene with smiles on their faces. Your Dragon King is extremely arrogant, yet you still dare to be arrogant in front of the daughter of the God King. Is that the Dragon King's sister? HMPH, you actually dare to say that Princess Philomena has no upbringing. You're really courting death. Now that the Yuan clan and the Scandinavian gods' domain are connected by marriage, they have become the most powerful force on Earth in a single leap. This Dragon King's sister is still spouting nonsense like an idiot. She really thinks that her brother is invincible, hee. When some people heard Little Feather's words, their faces revealed mocking expressions. Sitting in the center, the gods of the Scandinavian god realm saw this scene and smiled without saying a word. With the God King's love for this princess, so what if he didn't give the Dragon King face? They didn't take the Dragon Palace seriously at all. In the entire world, they didn't take it seriously at all. The Grand Elder of the Yuan clan and the surrounding immortals frowned slightly, their faces slightly unsightly. If Philomena won't give face to the Dragon King, then so be it. The Dragon King killed my daughter-in-law. Are we afraid of them? At this moment, a middle-aged man among the immortals of the Yuan clan said coldly. The surrounding immortals of the Yuan clan heard the middle-aged man's words and fell silent. Fairy Hua was the daughter-in-law of this middle-aged immortal god, but she was killed by a disciple of the Dragon Palace. Now that his eldest son had married the daughter of the godly king, the middle-aged man's strength had also reached that of a superior immortal, so his position in the Yuan clan was very high. Moreover, it was Philomena's action this time, so they couldn't stop her. Now, they weren't afraid of the Dragon King anymore. If they didn't give him face, they wouldn't give him face. Shut up! Yu Wenhua heard Xiao Yu's words and stared at her coldly. What's wrong, Yu Wenhua? Do you still think I'm afraid of you? Xiao Yu saw Yu Wenhua staring at him coldly, and her aura was instantly released. A strong pressure of a mid-level immortal rushed towards Yu Wenhua. Wang Xian waved his hand and dispersed Xiao Yu's aura. A hint of killing intent flashed in his eyes as he raised his wine glass indifferently. Oh, this is... Everyone was slightly shocked. When they saw Wang Xian raising his wine glass, they were stunned. Haha, this Dragon King is cowardly. He doesn't dare to be arrogant anymore. An immortal from the Western celestial domain laughed out loud. His face was filled with ridicule. It seems that even the Dragon King has no choice but to bow his head. The Northern European celestial domain and the Yuan clan are too powerful. They are not something the Dragon Palace can contend against. Yeah, I didn't expect the Dragon King to admit defeat. It's really rare. This time, the Northern European god realm really killed the Dragon King's spirit. I have no choice but to bow my head. The alliance of the two forces is invincible on Earth. The immortals and gods of Huaxiao immortal sect sighed slightly when they saw this scene. They didn't expect that the Dragon King would actually admit defeat one day. He drank the wine himself when the other party didn't give him any face. However, it was also true. The Dragon King's participation in this wedding represented his goodwill towards the Yuan clan and the Nordic divine territory. However, the effect was somewhat counterproductive. Philomena raised her head slightly when she saw Wang Xian raising his wine glass. A hint of an arrogant sneer appeared on her face. Yu Wenhua was stunned for a moment before a faint smile appeared on his face. The Dragon King had also given in front of them. Pa. However, just when everyone thought that the Dragon King would drink the wine, Wang Xian slowly poured the wine cup over. The wine slowly dripped onto the ground. The wine dripped onto the array formation and made a clicking sound. All of them fell to the ground. Everyone was stunned before a look of shock appeared on their faces. Dragon King, how could he pour wine on the ground? An immortal god looked shocked and stammered. Pour wine on the ground. This was a toast to the dead. This was a toast to the dead. The Dragon King actually poured wine on the ground in front of them during their wedding. This was simply. The wine falling to the ground was not only the custom of the Easterners. The West also knew what this meant. In an instant, many people stood up with embarrassed expressions on their faces. In particular, all the immortals and gods of the Nordic divine realm and the Yuan clan had angry expressions on their faces. The Dragon King poured the wine on the ground. What did this mean? Was he going to kill them? In an instant, the atmosphere at the wedding banquet turned solemn. Philomena and Yu Wenhua's faces turned gloomy immediately. They stared at Wang Xian coldly. Chapter 849. Funeral 1. On the wedding day, he poured wine on the ground in front of the bride and groom. If the bride and groom left without a toast, then the act of pouring wine on the ground was more than an insult. It was a naked humiliation in front of the mortals and gods of all the major forces on Earth. And there was a murderous intent in it. One toast to the yellow earth, one toast to death. This was the wine of death. Yu Wenhua and Philomena's faces were extremely gloomy. The Dragon King had done such a humiliating thing during their joyous wedding. It was simply an insult to them. Dragon King, this is too much. When the supreme elder of the Yuan clan saw this scene, his face was unusually embarrassed. He moved and instantly appeared beside Yu Wenhua and Philomena. His face was gloomy as he swept his gaze across the wine on the ground and stared at Wang Xian. Dragon King, are you looking for? Philomena's expression was slightly malevolent. She was the daughter of the celestial king of the northern European divine realm. Today was her wedding day, and under the gaze of everyone, she was actually humiliated in such a manner. This was not only an insult to her, but also to the entire northern European divine realm. In the future, when she recalled that such a thing had happened during her wedding, it would definitely be a very uncomfortable thing. It was as if a fishbone was stuck in his throat. Buzz! The supreme elder of the Yuan clan waved his hand and blocked what Philomena was about to say. He stared at the Dragon King with a cold expression. Didn't you invite me here because of your attitude? The son and daughter-in-law of the Yuan clan are so uneducated. Did you go overboard with what happened just now? Wang Xian stared coldly at the supreme elder of the Yuan clan. His eyes were filled with coldness as well. Give me an explanation or else. Hiss! Everyone around inhaled a breath of cold air when they saw the Dragon King speaking in such a domineering manner. They stared at the Dragon King's expression. They could see the thick murderous intent in his eyes. He did not conceal it at all. Everyone knew that the Dragon King was furious. The Dragon King did not care about the powers of the Nordic divine realm at all. He also did not care about the strength of the Yuan clan. Today he was invited to participate in this wedding. Others had given him gifts, but he was humiliated in the end. Everyone would be angry. However, they dared not say anything in the face of a powerful force. However, the Dragon King did not tolerate it at all this time. Although the Nordic divine realm was very strong, the Dragon King still had the qualifications. The expression of the Yuan clan's Grand Elder changed drastically. Everyone had witnessed this matter. It was their fault. He took a deep breath. But Dragon King, you can't go too far. This matter is the fault of their 2 children. However, today is their wedding after all. Let's take a step back. Give you an explanation? Dragon King, I'm warning you. If you don't give our Scandinavian divine realm an explanation today, you won't have the chance to explain in the future. Just as the supreme elder of the Yuan clan finished a sentence, a cold and arrogant figure was heard. More than 20 people, more than 20 of the gods of the Nordic celestial domain, came to Philomena's side in an instant. They stared at Wang Xian coldly. The other experts of the Western celestial domain moved and followed closely behind. In an instant, 40 to 50 Western gods stared at Wang Xian coldly. When the Grand Elder of the Yuan clan saw them speaking, he frowned slightly. To do such a thing at my son's wedding, the Dragon King really doesn't put us in his eyes. The middle-aged immortal god from the Yuan clan also stared at Wang Xian coldly. Haha, are you threatening me? Wang Xian looked at them and laughed maniacally. So what if I'm threatening you? Dragon King, do you really think that I'm afraid of you? So what if I don't give you face? Philomena stared at Wang Xian with a gloomy face. A cold expression appeared on her face. Since that's the case, let's turn the wedding into a funeral. Wang Xian slowly retracted his smile and stared at Philomena. A red glow flashed in his eyes. Wang Xian's words shocked everyone once again. However, at this moment, everyone saw a flame shoot out from the Dragon King's eyes. Caught off guard, no one expected the Dragon King to dare to attack directly in front of 40 to 50 immortals. In an instant, everyone was shocked. A wedding turned into a funeral. You're courting death. Philomena and Yu Wenhua did not expect Wang Xian to attack, so suddenly her expression changed drastically and she quickly stretched out her arm. A bracelet on her arm emitted a blue shield of light. Buzz! However, the moment the flame landed on the shield of light dissipated and the flame landed on Philomena's body. A flame that was not very thick landed on her body. At this moment, her expression changed drastically. A look of horror appeared on her face. The flame landed on her body and started burning rapidly. The speed of the flame burning was very fast. Dense would attribute energy surged from her body in an attempt to extinguish it. However, the flame was never-ending. Never-ending sight. This was one of the 8 divine abilities that Wang Xian obtained after attaining the first transformation of the divine dragon. The divine ability originated from the never-ending wood on the ancestral tree. Never-ending sight, pupil technique. When struck by the never-ending wood, the flame was never-ending and never-ending. Until death. Dragon King you. The supreme elder of the Yuan clan revealed an embarrassed expression. He immediately waved his hand to extinguish the flames on Philomena's body. You're courting death. How dare you harm our princess? The gods of the Nordic celestial domain were filled with killing intent when they saw Wang Xian attack directly. A sledgehammer and a knight's sword instantly appeared in the hands of the 2 old men standing in front of them. Hee, after tomorrow, all of you will be toasting in my direction as well. Haha. Wang Xian laughed as he looked at the 2 superior immortals who were attacking him. The red glow in his eyes flashed once again as 2 rays of light landed on their bodies. Ah! The 2 of them used the sledgehammer and knight's sword to block the attack. However, their weapons extended from their weapons to their bodies without end. 2 blood-curdling screams rang out. Not good, the flames can't be extinguished. When the two high-level immortals attacked, a group of immortals hurriedly released all sorts of energy in an attempt to extinguish the flames on Philomena's body. However, when all sorts of water and earth elemental energy landed on her body, the flames were only slightly suppressed, but it was completely useless. They couldn't be extinguished, not even if a high god attacked. Extinguish them! Extinguish the flames! Philomena's face was filled with terror as she watched her body burn black. She let out a loud scream. Not good. The thunder god and the earth god are also being burned by the flames. When the other gods of the Nordic deity domain and the Yuan clan saw the thunder god and the earth god being burned by the flames, their faces filled with pain as they slapped the flames, their expressions changing dramatically. The two high gods were also burned by the flames. Furthermore, they were indestructible. In an instant, the group of gods stared at Wang Xian with fear and vigilance. The rest of them began to rescue him. Chapter 850, Funeral 2. Save me, save me. Everything happened in just 3 seconds. The flames burned brighter and brighter. Half of Philomena's body was charred black. A terrified expression appeared on her face as she screamed out loud. The high god of the Nordic region, the god of thunder, and the god of the earth were flapping the flames on their bodies with terrified expressions. The 20 immortals stared at Wang Xian vigilantly. In the short exchange of blows, the Dragon King only released 3 flames. In the end, Philomena's entire body was burned, and the 2 high god clones were covered by the flames. The flames are on my body! At this moment, Yuanhua's terrified voice rang out. When he was flapping Philomena's flames, some of the flames were on his body and his arms were burning. No matter what, the flames would never be extinguished. Even if a superior immortal god made a move, it was still useless. What happened at this moment actually made all the human immortals and gods around swallow a mouthful of saliva. The people from the Yuan clan and the Nordic divine territory stared at Wang Xian in horror. No one dared to attack again. Divine ability, this is a divine ability. A surprised voice came from the Xian Yuan clan's supreme elder. He stared with wide eyes at the 4 immortals who had been burned by the flames, and his expression changed drastically. Divine ability. Immortals cultivated battle techniques. If they wanted to increase their strength again, there was only one way, which was to condense the battle technique into a divine ability. All the immortals knew this, but it was extremely difficult to condense a divine ability, and many high-level immortals were unable to find a way. The flame breath is indestructible. The supreme elder of the Yuan clan had an extremely unsightly expression as he shouted loudly. He gritted his teeth and waved the ancient fan in his hand, directly cutting off Yuanhua's arm. The arm fell to the ground, and the flames continued to burn. Save me, save me. Philomena was completely flustered. Her face was extremely pale, and more than half of her body had been burned. If not for the dense water energy surrounding her to suppress the flames, she would probably have died. Beside her, the 2 high gods of the Nordic domain were rolling on the ground, their eyes filled with fear. Dragon King, extinguish the flames on Philomena's body. Are you really going to fall into a situation where you will fight to the death with our Yuan clan and the Nordic domain? Cold sweat appeared on the forehead of the Grand Elder of the Yuan clan. He growled at Wang Xian in a low voice with an embarrassed expression. The wedding turned into a funeral. It's pretty good. Wang Xian looked at this scene indifferently with a smile on his face. This was the first time he had unleashed the endless sight. He was a little dissatisfied with the effect. The flames unleashed by an extraordinary level 1 could not extinguish it in an instant. This endless sight felt a little weak. However, the ability of not being able to see clearly and not being able to see clearly was fully displayed. It was indestructible. Dragon King, If you dare to kill Princess Philomena and the god of Thunder Mountain and Earth in our divine territory, our God King will not let you off." A god from the Nordic divine territory stared at Wang Xian and shouted loudly with his eyes that were about to crack. "Do you know that I hate threats the most?" Wang Xian turned his head to look at the god and said with a twinkle in his eyes. The middle-aged god's expression changed drastically. He was afraid that a flame would shoot out from Wang Xian's eyes and burn him directly. "Dragon King, if you can stop now, our Yuan clan would like to apologize to you." The supreme elder of the Yuan clan stared at Wang Xian with a face full of fear and said with an embarrassed expression, "No one had expected that the Dragon King would be so powerful." Just the two flames shot out from his eyes could destroy two high gods. Who would dare to go up against such terrifying flames? Even if this was the territory of the Yuan clan, even if there were more than 20 gods in the Nordic divine territory, no one dared to go up. It was too terrifying. One person smiled as he looked at the 40 to 50 gods. Yet the other party did not dare to attack. Instead, he was apologizing respectfully. It was so terrifying. The eyes of the surrounding immortals, who had secretly thought that the Dragon King would admit defeat, were filled with shock. Even the Western gods looked at this scene with embarrassed expressions, especially the mad god of the Garden of Eden's divine realm and the young divine son and goddess of the Roman divine realm. They had gloated and even looked excited. Their expressions had completely disappeared. Apologize? Do I need an apology from the Yuan clan? It's too late. Wang Xian watched the scene indifferently. There was no expression on his face. When the supreme elder of the Yuan clan heard Wang Xian's rejection, his face was extremely gloomy. He clenched his fists and gritted his teeth. "Dragon King, what do you have to do to extinguish the flames? Anyone who offends our Dragon King will die." Wang Xian did not speak. Ao Jian, who was at the side, spoke coldly like a sharp sword that had been unsheathed. After he finished speaking, the faces of all the immortals and deities of the Yuan clan and the Nordic celestial domain changed drastically. No, I beg you, Dragon King. It's my fault. Please let me go." Dressed in a bride's gift, the extremely beautiful Philomena revealed a look of despair on her face. She was in immense pain and most of her body was burnt black. She looked extremely pathetic. She was no longer as beautiful and prideful as before, nor did she have the disdain and ridicule in front of Wang Xian. She knelt on the ground. The immortals and gods around her came to her rescue, but none of them dared to go forward. Yu Wenhua's arm was covered in flames. He could only cut off his own arm. The two high gods were covered in flames and were screaming in agony. "I came to attend your wedding, but you didn't give me any face. You even said that you have the ability and qualifications. Unfortunately, you don't have the ability and qualifications. Let's go." Wang Xian said indifferently and turned around to walk out. However, when he saw a glass of wine on the table, he paused. "The last toast is to the yellow earth and death. This toast is to all of you." Wang Xian picked up the wine glass and threw it behind him gently. The wine glass formed a line and landed in front of Philomena and the two high gods. "Cheers to all of you." Boom! The Yuan clan and the gods from the Nordic celestial domain revealed furious expressions. A terrifying aura shot up into the sky. The aura of the 40 to 50 gods caused the entire world to change drastically. Even the movement techniques under their feet were slowly cracking. However, Wang Xian did not bother with them. He slowly paced and flew into the distance at an average speed. Xiao Yu, Feng Lingtian, Ling Xiao, and the rest followed closely behind. They left in a carefree manner. From the beginning to the end, the immortals from the Yuan clan and the Nordic celestial domain did not dare to make a move. The people from the Western celestial domain did not dare to make a move either. Two flames had killed two high gods. Who would still dare to make a move? No, I was wrong. Please let me go. Give me a chance. Philomena's screams continued to ring out, causing the Yuan clan and the gods of the Scandinavian gods' domain to have extremely unsightly expressions. No matter what method they used, they could not extinguish the wisps of flames that were not very lush. They could only watch as Philomena was burned to ashes. They watched as the two gods stopped screaming and lay there motionless. This was truly a wedding turning into a funeral. Chapter 851. Funeral 3. No. The sound of Yuan Hua wailing could be heard from the wedding venue. Everyone from the Yuan clan trembled slightly. Their faces were filled with humiliation and anger. The gods of the Northern European god domain had extremely ugly expressions on their faces. The princess of their god domain had been directly killed. She had been burned to death in front of them. However, they had not been able to do anything about it. They didn't even have the chance to take revenge. Around them, the immortal sects from the east and the gods from the west watched this scene with complicated expressions on their faces. It was the most eye-catching wedding on earth. However, today it had turned into the scene. Just as the Dragon King had said, the wedding had turned into a funeral. Everyone from the Yuan clan, we are sorry for your loss. We will leave first. The members of the Xianyuan clan cupped their hands and left immediately. The members of the other immortal sects also left immediately. On the mountain peaks around the wedding, in Xianyuan City, the lights were still bright. It was an ordinary wedding. However, the people outside and in the city didn't know that this wedding had turned into a funeral. Who would have thought that this wedding of the century would actually turn out like this? The Dragon King actually dared to directly kill the daughter of the Scandinavian deity king, killing two high gods. In the future, the two powers will probably fight to the death. Who would have thought that the Dragon King would actually be so terrifying? A high god was easily killed in front of him. This is too terrifying. While the others are improving, the Dragon King is also improving at a terrifying rate. Some of the immortal gods who had left were sighing as they conversed. The strength that the Dragon King had displayed today had truly shocked everyone. The 40 to 50 immortal gods of the Yuan clan's Nordic region did not dare to make a move. They watched as the Dragon King left and watched as the princess of the Nordic region was burned to death. However, one could imagine that the Nordic region and the Dragon Palace had already become archenemies. What would happen if the two most powerful forces of the East and West clashed? It's also that Philomena is courting death. After all, the Dragon King is also the most powerful force of the East. He came to your wedding personally and gave you a congratulatory gift. In the end, you didn't give the Dragon King any face and humiliated the Dragon King in front of so many people. Aren't you courting death? Maybe he thinks that he has a father who is a godly king, so he dares to look down on everyone. He is indeed rude. He didn't give any face to the guests at his own wedding. No wonder the Dragon King directly showed killing intent and killed him on the spot. If he doesn't seek death, he won't die. Do you really think that a top-tier powerhouse, the master of a powerful force, would let a rich second-generation woman like you humiliate him? You are courting death. Some people were shocked by the Dragon King's faction, but there were still people who were disdainful of Philomena's actions. They thought that they had a powerful background, but they actually dared to disrespect others. Now that they had met the Dragon King, the result was that they were killed. Moreover, they died very miserably. The Yuan clan's people also thought that they had a marriage alliance with the Scandinavian divine realm, so they could disregard the Dragon King. In the end, this was the fate of a group of people seeking death. Not long after the lively and festive Xianyuan city began to boil, the news of Philomena's death spread, and the entire city was shocked. Very quickly, this matter spread to the Jianghu website. Today's Jianghu website, the posts were all about the immortal sex congratulations on the marriage between Yuan clans Yuan Hua and the Scandinavian gods domains Philomena, as well as the discussions of the immortal sex experts on this wedding. When the news of Philomena's death spread to Jianghu website, it shocked the entire internet. When Philomena toasted, she did not give face to the Dragon King in front of everyone. The Yuan clan did not make any apologies, and the Dragon King killed her on the spot. When this news came out, the entire Jianghu was shocked. The Dragon King is awesome. Damn it, this Philomena is really courting death. The Dragon King personally went to attend her wedding and gave her a congratulatory gift. But she actually did not give face to the Dragon King. Well done! The best death-courting expert of the year, the daughter of the Scandinavian god realm's god king, Philomena. Well done! Treating a guest like this, there is nothing wrong with the Dragon King killing her. This Yuan clan is too arrogant. They think that they cannot give face to the Dragon King just because they are in the Scandinavian god realm. Now that's great, this is really interesting. Haha, this is really interesting. The Yuan clan invited the Dragon King to attend the wedding, but the bride insulted him directly. The Yuan clan did not react at all. Well done! The disciples of the immortal sex on the Jianghu website all replied in unison. They all said that Philomena was courting death and the Yuan clan was too arrogant. That was why, if not for all of this, the Dragon King would not have made a move. In an instant, the originally lively Jianghu website became even more lively and even continued until the wee hours of the morning. Boom! Boom! However, at the wee hours of the morning, an earth-shattering sound came from the direction of the Yuan clan. The earth seemed to be trembling. Dragon King, I, the king of Northern Europe, the king of all gods, Okuden, will definitely exterminate you in 3 days. All members of the Dragon Palace will not be spared. Even if the heavens and the earth enter, you will not be able to escape this calamity. An angry roar resounded throughout the east. The voice shook the sky. All the people who had fallen asleep were awakened and listened to the voice with shock on their faces. King of Northern Europe, King of all gods, King of God Okuden, the strongest person in the West and the most powerful god in the West. How strong could an existence that could be recognized as the strongest by everyone be? Everyone had shocked expressions on their faces. No one expected that this godly monarch would rush over so quickly. Yuan clan, you bunch of damned fellows! At this moment, in the Yuan clan's position, a sun-like disk was suspended in the dark night sky 10,000 meters in the sky, causing the entire area to be lit up. An elder sat on a huge divine seat, and 2 black crows that were 3 meters in size stood on the edge of the divine seat. There was a golden disk that was 1 meter long above the old man's head. The disk was emitting a white light. For huge Pegasus with wings pulled the throne. Each Pegasus was emitting a dazzling light. They were at the level of immortals and gods. The old man was also emitting a white light. He had endless majesty. The king of all gods was worthy of his name. God King Okuden, please calm down. We, Yuan. Shut up. In the sky, the Yuan clan's supreme elder and a group of Yuan clan immortals greeted the arrival of the divine king in fear and trepidation. Behind the divine king stood a group of gods exuding a terrifying aura. All of them were clad in battle armor and were filled with dignity. The group of about 5,000 people looked like a powerful battle team that had come from ancient times. The Yuan clan's supreme elder bent down and was about to finish his sentence when divine king Okuden extended a finger. A white beam of light instantly shot towards him. The Yuan clan's grand supreme elder's expression was horrified as he hurriedly blocked it. Pow! However, a terrifying force landed on his body, causing him to spit out blood. Instantly, he was heavily injured as he fell towards the ground. The might of a divine king shook the world. Chapter 852, Funeral 4. Hiss! The location of the Yuan clan was not very far from Shenyuan City. At night, when a sun-like object rose, when that earth-shaking sound rang out, everyone in Shenyuan Ancient City woke up. Many immortal gods and disciples of the immortal sects who had not left because the sky was already dark tonight immediately flew out of the room when they heard this sound and looked towards the location of the sound. When they flew out, they saw a shocking scene. The Yuan clan's strongest expert, the Yuan clan supreme elder, was actually knocked down from the void by the finger of the elder who was sitting on the divine throne and emitting divine light. He did not have the slightest ability to resist. The Yuan clan's supreme elder, who was currently the strongest expert in the East, fell heavily into the distance. The power of a single finger. Just the power of a single finger. Everyone's faces were filled with shock as they watched this scene. The grand elder of the Yuan clan had actually been defeated with a single finger. In fact, they felt that if the deity king hadn't held back, he would have been killed. This made them think of the day when the Dragon King's eyes had shot out two flames, and in the end he had killed two high gods. How terrifying! He knocked down the grand elder of the Yuan clan with a single finger. Who is stronger, the Dragon King or him? This is a true God. His divine might is vast and mighty, and his divine light shines through the heavens and earth. Those gods of the Western divine realm are simply too insignificant compared to this old man. Divine King, is this how terrifying a divine king is? As expected of the King of Gods, the most powerful expert of the West. Seeing it with their own eyes, everyone felt their insignificance. This godly king was too powerful. Godly king versus Dragon King. Dragon King has finally met his true enemy. Everyone sighed in their hearts. After the Dragon King's performance today, they thought that the Dragon King was the strongest existence. However, compared to the godly king, it was hard to say who was stronger. The Dragon King has killed my Yuan clan's daughter-in-law. Today, my Yuan clan swears that we will definitely destroy the Dragon King. Otherwise, my Yuan clan will be destroyed. After about half an hour of silence in the night, another roar sounded from the sky and spread throughout China. The two voices represented the complete alliance between the Yuan clan and the Nordic divine realm. They were determined to completely destroy the Dragon King. This news caused the silent night to boil. It became a sleepless night. Analyzing the Dragon King's forces before the spiritual energy recovers, the Dragon Palace has 18 immortal gods, a group of infant realm and half-step immortal god powerhouses. According to their overall strength, the Dragon Palace has at least 30 immortal gods. 30 might be a little less. It should be between 40 to 50. 50 is the most. As for the Yuan clan and the Northern European divine realm, the Yuan clan has 25 immortals and the Northern European divine realm has at least 60 immortals. This time, the divine King Okuden led all the experts of the divine realm out. When the two sides join forces, there are no less than 85 immortal god experts. This is a huge crisis for the Dragon King. Although the Dragon King is very strong, the divine king is not weak either. He defeated the Yuan clan's supreme elder with one finger. His strength is definitely not lower than the Dragon King. The divine king under his banner is stronger. This is really a huge crisis for the Dragon King. Last time, the Dragon King mobilized the Dragon Palace's forces to destroy the Holy Doctor, Holy Medicine Immortal Sect. Will there be other forces this time? It's obviously the alliance between the Nordic divine realm's divine king and the Yuan clan that is stronger. After all, it's the alliance of two major forces. There's also the divine king, a terrifying expert. The Dragon King is doomed. Late at night, the entire Jianghu internet was bustling with activity. Everyone was talking about the Yuan clan and the Norse celestial realm's declaration of war against the Dragon King. The daughter of the divine king was killed at the wedding. The two major forces would not let the Dragon King off. This time, it was another war of the century. Even after this war, it would decide the division of the forces on Earth. More people were optimistic about the forces of the Divine King and the Yuan clan. Now, almost everyone was a warrior. In the past, many ordinary people had only heard of the Dragon King's deeds and had never seen him in person. However, the King of Gods was different. Ever since the spiritual energy was released, the King of all gods had been well known throughout the entire earth. He was known as a true god. When the sky lit up, Wang Xian stretched lazily from his room on the floating island and came to the living room. "Brother, did you hear the voice yesterday?" Xiao Yu and Feng Lingtian were sitting in the living room. Ling Xiao did not leave immediately either. The incident yesterday had a huge impact on them. Killing the daughter of the godly monarch on the spot and making an enemy out of the strongest alliance on earth made him a little apprehensive and worried. Now, the Yellow Heaven Immortal Sect and the Dragon Palace could be considered as in-laws. I heard it. How could I not hear it? Wang Xian walked to the table nonchalantly. Xiao Yu immediately ran to the kitchen to bring some breakfast over. "Brother, they are too arrogant. They even wanted to destroy you. HMPH, they are courting death," Xiao Yu said angrily. She had been angry for a long time about what happened to Philomena the day before. They should be holding a funeral now. When they are done with the coffin, we will go over and cover it for them. Wang Xian smiled gently. Since the other party had already wanted to destroy him, Wang Xian would naturally not sit still. He liked to take the initiative to attack. A wedding turned into a funeral. A funeral required a coffin. If they wanted to kill him 3 days later, he would go ahead and place them in the coffin. Perfect. In just a few days, they would go from the joy of life to great sorrow and finally walk into the grave. It was perfect. Dragon King, are you taking the initiative to attack? Ling Xiao's heart skipped a beat when he heard his words. There are only 6 immortals in our Ling Xiao immortal sect who can attack. There's no need. Wang Xian waved his hand. My Dragon Palace can handle it. The godly king is very powerful. The Northern European divine territory and the Yuan clan are also very powerful. Ling Xiao frowned and reminded him. Even though he saw how confident Wang Xian was, Ling Xiao was not sure that the Dragon Palace would be a match for the 2 powerful forces. Not only him, but everyone on Earth did not believe that the Dragon King would win. On the Jianghu website, everyone said that this would be the greatest crisis for the Dragon King and that it was very likely that he would fall. Don't worry. Wang Xian smiled faintly. Earlier on, he looked at the Jianghu website and saw the analysis thread. The strength of the Norse celestial domain and the Yuan clan's analysis was very similar. However, it was the Dragon Palace. Wang Xian smiled lightly. Currently, there were 280 immortal-level powerhouses in the Dragon Palace. Just a small number of 80 plus a group of draconids would be enough to deal with the 2 major forces. As for the godly king, I wonder if he has reached the Transcendence realm. It would be interesting if he has reached it. If he hasn't, then As for the information about the godly king versus the Dragon King on the Jianghu website, the corner of his mouth curled up slightly. He didn't know if he had the qualifications. Chapter 853 Dragon King versus Godly King 1. The wedding that shocked the entire world ended in a way that shocked everyone. Soon after, the wedding turned into a funeral. The death of the godly king's daughter, even if it was to be buried in the Nordic divine realm. The entire Yuan clan was still in silence. The festive red color was completely removed and replaced with white. Although it was said that turning from a joyous event to a loss would cause all the immortal sect experts in the Jianghu to laugh at them, it was still better to die. Moreover, the one who died was the daughter of the Scandinavian god king. How could the Yuan clan still dare to care about their reputation? Now, they only hoped that the Scandinavian god king would not vent his anger on them and take revenge on the Dragon King. No matter what, all of this was because of the Dragon King. The 5,000 experts of the Nordic divine realm are all gathered in the Yuan clan. In 2 days, they will take the Dragon King's head to pay tribute to the death of the Nordic princess. I heard that the Yuan clan used level 13 materials to build a coffin for Philomena. How extravagant! No one knows the exact location of the Dragon Palace. If the Dragon King is hiding, the Nordic divine realm might not be able to find him. The Dragon King is currently said to be on the floating island in the river city Bohai Sea. I wonder how the Dragon King will deal with him. The Yuan clan has mobilized all their forces to find the Dragon Palace's address. They are preparing to attack the Dragon Palace and destroy all the members of the Dragon Palace. Time slowly passed. The entire Jianghu was in an uproar. They were paying close attention to every piece of information about the Dragon King and the Yuan clan. Soon after, the next day, a shocking piece of news broke out in the Yuan clan. There are a total of 50 immortal gods in the Nordic divine realm and 20 immortal gods in the Yuan clan. When this news came out, everyone was dumbfounded. 50 immortal gods, and there were actually 50 immortal gods in the Nordic divine realm. This terrifying power was simply invincible in the world. 50 immortals and 28 from the Yuan clan made a total of 78. How was the Dragon King going to deal with such a terrifying power? The godly king has announced our power. If the Dragon King finds out that we are hiding, it will be troublesome. In the Yuan clan, the Grand Elder sat below the godly king. He frowned and said respectfully, "Even if our announced strength is much less than what we actually have, our power can still be said to be invincible on Earth." Invincible? That's hard to say. The elder sitting in the main seat touched a small crow on his arm with a cold expression on his face. "Elder Yuan, we can't underestimate this Dragon King. According to the information we received in the past 2 days, this Dragon Palace's strength is not weak. The number of immortals and deities it has will definitely not be less than 50. Divine King O'Curtain didn't answer him. A white-haired elder who was leaning on the crow's cane beside him said faintly, "A year ago, the Dragon Palace had 18 immortals before the recovery of spiritual energy began. The number of infant realm and half-step immortal realm experts had reached 70 to 80. This is just the strength that was revealed. If he still has hidden his strength, he might be even stronger. Moreover, according to the information we've received, the strength of the infant realm and half-step immortal realm experts in the Dragon Palace far exceeds those of the same level. A year's recovery of spiritual energy is enough for many infant realm experts to break through to immortal realm. The experts of the Dragon Palace also have a very high possibility." As the white-haired old man spoke, he touched the walking stick in his hand. The supreme elder of the Yuan clan revealed a thoughtful expression. The Dragon Palace didn't have any ordinary disciples. The weakest ones were all in the infant realm. During this 1-year period, the spiritual essence had recovered. If the infant realm experts had a great opportunity and had enough medicinal pills, they could also break through to the immortal realm. In addition, the Dragon Palace monopolized the medicinal pills in the entire Jianghu, so the resources were absolutely terrifying. That's right. Suddenly, he remembered that the Dragon Palace had once destroyed the Holy Doctor, Holy Medicine Immortal Sect. With the Holy Doctor, Holy Medicine Immortal Sect's strength back then, they were completely comparable to the Yuan clan. Moreover, the Holy Doctor, Holy Medicine Immortal Sect definitely had more resources than them in terms of spiritual herbs and medicinal pills. If the Holy Doctor, Holy Medicine Immortal Sect still existed, they would have at least 30 immortal gods. Now that the resources were given to the Dragon Palace would be able to create at least 20 immortals. In addition to the previous ones and the monopolized medicinal pills, the number of immortals in the Dragon Palace might really reach 70 to 80. If the number of immortals in the Dragon Palace really reaches 70 to 80, I really can't believe it. The immortal gods of the Yuan clan suddenly sighed. If it weren't for the Nordic divine realm, they absolutely wouldn't dare to provoke the Dragon King. According to all the information in the past, there's a very big possibility. The white-haired elder's eyes sparkled as he spoke with wisdom. "Hiss, if that's the case, even if we want to destroy the Dragon Palace, the possibility isn't very high. On the contrary, Both sides will suffer heavy losses. The Yuan clan supreme elder said with a solemn expression. If the Dragon King really has such a powerful force, according to his personality, what will he do? The white-haired elder continued to speak indifferently. If it's the Dragon King, will he? The Yuan clan's immortals and deities frowned slightly. Immediately after, they said, if it's the Dragon King, he will lead the immortals and deities of the Dragon Palace. Before we make a move, they will come to find us. This was the case with the Holy Medicine Immortal Sect. That's right. It seems that you are not that stupid. The white-haired elder closed his eyes slightly. The immortals and gods of the Yuan clan looked somewhat embarrassed. Wise man, godly king, if the strength of the Dragon Palace is really so terrifying, we can't deal with them, can we? Reporting, Grand Elder. A group of experts suddenly broke in. Suddenly, at this moment, an elder of the Yuan clan rushed in with a panicked look and said in horror, What, did the Dragon King bring people here? The Grand Elder of the Yuan clan stood up abruptly with a shocked look on his face. Let them in. The godly king who was sitting at the front said, Godly king, godly king, godly king. As soon as they finished speaking, a group of people walked toward the hall in the mountain peak. There were about 60 people in total. The leader on the left was a burly old man with a beard and a huge warhammer in his hand. The one on the right was an old man wearing a black robe, completely hiding himself in the robe. He wore a mask, and only one eye was revealed. In the middle was an old man wearing a divine crown and holding a divine staff. Each of the old men exuded a terrifying dignity. At this moment, they bowed respectfully to the God King. 15 immortals in the Garden of Eden's divine territory, 20 immortals in the ancient Greek divine territory, 25 gods from the Rome. Serve the God King, kill the other worldlings, get rid of the villains, and avenge Princess Philomena. The 60 powerful gods called out respectfully, and their voices resounded throughout the hall. Chapter 854, Dragon King versus Godly King 2. Here they come. Haha, good. This time, regardless of whether the Dragon Palace has 50 immortals or 100 immortals, they must die. After the Dragon Palace is destroyed, anyone on Earth who dares to resist us will all die. Godly King Okuden's eyes shone with a bright light as he slowly stood up. This time, I will let everyone on Earth know the consequences of offending me, Okuden. If you dare to kill my daughter, I will tear her into pieces and make everyone in the world despise him. Divine King, after this battle, everyone will have to submit to my Nordic divine realm. The white-bearded old man quickly stood up. In the future, you will not only be the king of all gods, but also the king of all immortals. Wise man, I hope that as you have analyzed, this Dragon King will have a decent strength and will be able to come over tomorrow. Otherwise, there will be no meaning at all. Divine King Okuden waved his hand and said indifferently, 80% confidence. The white-bearded old man said with confidence. Around them, the immortals of the Yuan clan sucked in a breath of cold air. Their eyes were filled with shock as they watched. As expected of the strongest Northern European divine realm in the West, as expected of the godly monarch, the Yuan clan Grand Elder's face was filled with astonishment. His eyes flickered as he looked at the white-bearded elder. The white-bearded elder was called the Wise Man. He was the wise man of the Northern European divine realm. He had always been the most important right-hand man of the auxiliary godly monarch. This wise man in front of him had assisted 3 generations of godly monarchs in total. His lifespan had already reached around 450 years old. This time, it was his intention to pass on the power of the Nordic divine realm and the Yuan clan. In fact, the power that was passed out had 10 immortal gods hidden in the Nordic divine realm. They had a total of 60 immortal gods. However, that was not all. Seeing the 60 immortal gods that came over again, he was amazed. This time, Even if the Dragon King had 3 heads and 6 arms, he was doomed. Thinking of this, a cold expression appeared on his face. Prepare everything and wait for the arrival of the Dragon King. The white-bearded old man sat on the chair and flipped through the information in his hands. His face was filled with confidence. 78 immortals, over 4,000 experts in the infant and Dan stages. This is a good opportunity for the Dragon Palace to train their soldiers. In Jiang City, Wang Xian stood at the top of the floating island villa. He smiled as he read the information sent over by the demonic Azure Dragon. Dragon King, Prime Minister Gui, is bringing a group of civil officials from the Dragon Palace over. In the past, it was all talk on paper. This is a real drill. Ao Jian said to Wang Xian from the side. Wang Xian nodded. Good. It's rare to have an opponent. Use it well. Otherwise, it would be a waste. Wang Xian did not put the king of the Nordic celestial realm and the Yuan clan in his eyes. In his opinion, they were a good training ground for the Dragon Palace. From the beginning to the end, the Dragon Palace did not encounter any opponents. This time they passed the test. 78 immortals and 4,000 to 5,000 infant stage powerhouses at the Dan stage barely passed the test. Tomorrow morning, we don't need the Nordic celestial realm and the Yuan clan to look for us. Let's go look for them. The corners of Wang Xian's mouth curled up slightly as he said, confidently, It's the Dragon King. Ao Jian nodded respectfully. Wang Xian stood at the top of the villa with an indifferent expression as he looked ahead with a smile. However, he didn't know that Wang Xian's thoughts had already been predicted by others. Meanwhile, the Norse celestial domain and the Yuan clan were already waiting for his arrival. The next morning, today was 3 days later, it was the Nordic Divine King's day of revenge for the Yuan clan. Today, the entire world, from the immortal sects to the warriors who had just cultivated for a year, was paying attention to this battle. The real battle of the century. Hello, everyone. This is the Huaxia Warriors Live broadcast platform. We are currently in Jiang City. Everyone, please look into the distance. Look, that is the Dragon King's floating island. It is said that the Dragon King is currently on the floating island. We can connect to another streamer. He is currently in the Yuan clan. Today, we will be live broadcasting this battle. As time passed, the television stations of the past had also undergone changes. There were many more martial artists live broadcast platforms and teaching platforms. The Huaxia Martial Artists Live broadcast platform was the largest platform. Now, it was even more important to carry out a live broadcast of this battle that all humans were paying attention to. At this time, hundreds of millions of people had already gathered on the platform to watch. Besides those watching on the live broadcast platform, the real powerhouses, such as the Immortal God level, Half-Step Immortal God level, and Infant Realm level, were all located not far away from Jiang City and the Yuan clan. They were ready to watch this terrifying battle with their own eyes. The power of this battle would far surpass the battle between the Holy Doctor, Holy Medicine, and Immortal Sect and the Dragon King. There's no movement on the Dragon King's floating island. We can also see that there's no movement on the Yuan clan's position. It's 8:30 in the morning, so there should be some movement soon. Everyone, wait patiently. Everyone, do you think that the Nordic Divine Realm and the Yuan clan will win this battle, or the Dragon King's Dragon Palace? At 8:30 in the morning, both the floating island and the Yuan clan were silent, like the calm before a storm. As soon as the streamer asked this question, a voting area appeared. In an instant, the number of votes reached over 1 million. Among them, 99% of them thought that the Norse Celestial Realm and the Yuan clan would win, and the Dragon King Dragon Palace would be destroyed. 88 immortals versus members of the Dragon Palace. The Dragon King versus the Godly King. The members of the Dragon Palace will probably be completely defeated. Unless the Dragon King defeats the Godly King, the Dragon Palace and the Dragon King will be destroyed. That's right. There's no movement on the floating island. Has the Dragon King already escaped? If he really escaped, it would completely prove that the Dragon King is not as good as the Godly King. In the void around Jiang City, the immortals from the immortal sects were hiding in the white clouds. They looked down and whispered. Similarly, there were many immortal gods from the Yuan clan hiding in the void around River City. There was no movement from either side. It seems that everyone thinks that the Nordic god's domain and the Yuan clan will win. I think so too. I'm afraid that they will really have to slay the dragon this time. 88 immortal gods. This is too terrifying. The live streamer flew in the sky on his flying sword as he spoke to the audience. Oh my God, what's going on? At this moment, the streamer suddenly widened her eyes. Her eyes were filled with disbelief. Oh my God, the power of the Dragon King. The power of the Dragon King. Boom, boom. While the streamer was in shock, terrifying creatures suddenly flew out from the bottom of the ocean below the floating island. Among the 9 flood dragons, there was a throne that the Dragon King was sitting on. At the back, there was a beautiful woman standing beside the Dragon King with a fan and a pair of wings behind her. On the other side, an old man with a turtle shell glanced around with a wise gaze. Finally, a group of creatures with a terrifying aura. Chapter 855, Dragon King versus Godly King 3. Behind the Dragon King, there were more than 3 groups of creatures. There was a type of demon monkey, a demon monkey that emitted demonic aura. Each of its body was covered in black scales. The leading few held golden cudgels in their hands, exuding the might of immortals and gods. There were more than 1,000 of these demon monkeys, and their demonic flames were monstrous, making one's heart palpitate. The other type of creatures were creatures that emitted lightning. They were like shrimps. The leader of the group was a dozen or so creatures. One of them had an arm that was like a war hammer, and the other had an arm that was like a lightning spear. Their bodies flickered with lightning. There were a total of around 200 of them. They were extremely terrifying. In the middle was a group of humans. They held golden long swords in their hands. They were extremely cold, like machines. Their bodies emitted terrifying sword rays. There were about 150 swordsmen in this group. Other than these 3 groups of humans and creatures, there were also a few very special and even terrifying things. A middle-aged man with a few heads and 9 arms. Every face of the middle-aged man was extremely thin and pale. His triangular eyes revealed a sinister and terrifying look. His body was not big, but he was extremely eye-catching behind the Dragon King. No creature dared to approach him. 3 meters away from the middle-aged man, there was a strange creature. This creature was like a spider. He had a hairy head and 8 arms. His left and right arms were like swords, and his right hands were like rapiers. He was very strange and looked very terrifying. There were a total of 10 such creatures. Oh my God, there are about 70 immortals and deities. There are actually 70 of them. The streamer and all the immortal sects and experts around him widened their eyes in shock when they saw this scene. The Dragon King of the Dragon Palace had already led 70 immortals and deities out before there was any movement from the Yuan clan. Looking in that direction, they were flying toward the Yuan clan. What were they going to do? Attack! Just like the last time, the Dragon King wanted to take the initiative to attack. How could it be? How could the Dragon Palace have so many immortal and deity experts? And did you see that many of them are other creatures? The Dragon Palace, the Dragon Palace. Could it be that the Dragon King's Dragon Palace is built in the ocean and his subordinates are also creatures of the ocean? The host widened his eyes and roared in shock. It was really too shocking. Just now, they were still discussing and voting about who would lose this battle. In the end, 99% of the people thought that the Dragon Palace would be destroyed. However, in less than 10 minutes, the Dragon King suddenly led a group of terrifying immortal god creatures to attack and fly towards the Yuan clan. There is also a terrifying invisible creature in the Dragon Palace. There are definitely many of those creatures. In other words, the number of immortal gods in the Dragon Palace is even more than that of the Nordic divine realm and the Yuan clan. The surrounding immortal gods sucked in a breath of cold air. The power of the Dragon King of the Dragon Palace was too terrifying. It made everyone feel incredulous. Too powerful, too powerful. I thought the Dragon King would lose. Now, it seems that the one who will lose is probably the Godly King. A big battle, a real big battle. There will be nearly 200 immortals fighting today. Oh my God! Whether it was the surrounding immortals or the people who saw this scene through the live broadcast, their faces were filled with shock. With the reversal of the situation, the immortals in the Dragon Palace were no less than the Norse celestial domain and the Yuan clan. In fact, they were even stronger and more bizarre. There are 20 immortals hiding in the surrounding 50 kilometers. Prime Minister Gue followed the Dragon King and walked in the air. He looked at the turtle shell in his hand and whispered. Behind him, there were also turtles. Each turtle shell's eyes were filled with wisdom and wisdom. Wang Xian swept his gaze across the surroundings and paid no attention to them. This time, 100 immortal level members of the Dragon Palace were dispatched. It was obvious that there were 70 members of the Dragon Palace and 30 immortal level demons hiding around them. Other than the immortal level members, there were also 50 nascent realm and half-step immortal level members. Almost 1/3 of the immortal level members of the Dragon Palace had arrived, but more than half of the powers below the immortal level had arrived. There were not many members in the Dragon Palace to begin with. In fact, among the group of creatures in the Dragon Palace, Tang Yin Xian and 5 dolphins at the level of immortals and deities had also come along. Since it was a drill, they would display the strongest battle formation of the Dragon Palace. The 9 dragons rode on their steeds and flew rapidly towards the Yuan clan. Among this group of creatures, there were only a few hundred of them at the dance stage. The rest were all at the infant stage. Although there were only 2,000 of them, their strength was definitely terrifying enough. Wang Xian did not hide anything as he proceeded forward. When he passed by a bustling city, everyone looked at this scene with shock on their faces. On the Jianghu website and the live broadcast platform, there was even a falling out. It was as though there was an earthquake of over 10 levels. Just when everyone thought that the Dragon King would be annihilated, the Dragon King once again launched a desperate counterattack. This is the true strength of the Dragon Palace. Invincible, just like the Holy Doctor, Holy Medicine, and Immortal Sect. The Dragon King directly sent people to kill him. Haha, this is interesting. If the Dragon King dares to kill him, he has the confidence to kill the Godly King. That's awesome. When everyone received the news, they were discussing in shock. The Dragon King had given them too many surprises. Once again, when everyone thought that the Dragon King would be completely defeated, the Dragon King shocked the world again. He led the powerful and terrifying members of the Dragon Palace to fly in the direction of the Yuan clan. Their flying speed was very fast. In less than half an hour, they were already within 50 kilometers of the Yuan clan. At this moment, Prime Minister Gue, who was holding the turtle shell in his hand, let out a surprised cry. He stared at his own turtle shell and moved slightly. Dragon King, there are a total of 200 immortals within 50 kilometers. The number of immortals is somewhat unexpected. Prime Minister Gue raised his head and spoke to Wang Xian, who was walking forward. 200 celestials? Wang Xian was slightly taken aback. A hint of doubt appeared on his face. Including those who are hiding in the surroundings. There shouldn't be 200 of them. That's too many. It should be... Prime Minister Gue's eyes flickered as he looked at the many pairs of eyes in the void. A hint of a smile appeared on his face as he said, "I'll get the big blue belt, celestial god, to rush over. It won't take more than 5 minutes." "All right, slow down." Wang Xian nodded his head faintly. "This is really interesting. I told you that there's something strange about the Yuan clan. 3 days have passed, and they still haven't come out. Furthermore, they are deliberately releasing their strength. Haha, this is really interesting. He laughed and ordered the 9 dragons to slow down. They were slowly approaching the Yuan clan. They're coming. The Dragon King is coming. They're still coming in a domineering manner. The aura of the members of the Dragon Palace is so terrifying that it far surpasses that of humans. Each and every one of them is extremely strange. Are they trying to destroy the Northern European divine realm and the Yuan clan? The immortal god powerhouses and streamers who had gathered around and had specialized live streams revealed shocked expressions when they saw the arrival of the Dragon King. The 9 flood dragons gave off a terrifying aura as they slowly arrived at the Yuan clan's territory and stopped in the air. There were 70 immortal-level creatures. Their savage, demonic, and cold aura far surpassed that of the human immortals of the same level. The Dragon King and the rest stopped there as if they were powerful existences from the bottom of the sea. Haha, I knew you would bring people here. It's as I expected. Wang Xian didn't say anything as he looked ahead, quietly. At this moment, a loud laughter was heard. On a mountain peak of the Yuan clan, a wise, white-haired elder stood on the mountain peak and laughed heartily. This loud laughter shocked everyone once again. Chapter 856, Dragon King versus Godly King 4. What's going on? What's going on? This is a god from the Nordic divine realm. Why is he so happy? What did he expect? Could it be that the Nordic divine realm and the Yuan clan have already made preparations? Upon hearing this loud laughter, the experts who were hiding around and waiting to watch the battle, as well as everyone who was watching the live broadcast, revealed shocked expressions once again. As usual, the Dragon King suddenly erupted with a terrifying force and directly turned around to attack. The Scandinavian divine realm did not panic at all. On the contrary, everything was within expectations. This, as the wise man said, your Dragon King's force is not simple. You will definitely kill your way here today. Hee, not bad, not bad, very strong strength. A voice that sounded like a loud bell rang throughout the entire world. In the depths of the Yuan clan, white light illuminated the entire mountain peak. For huge Pegasus soared into the sky, pulling the divine throne. Divine King Okuden, who was emitting divine light, held a divine staff in his hand. 2 huge black crows were located on the left. A metal disc above his head was emitting milky white light. A group of gods from the Nordic celestial domain stood at the back. Behind them were a group of divine servants and warriors. About 5,000 people rose into the sky like the sun. In their place, it was as if they formed their own domain, suppressing an entire world. Divine King Okuden stared expressionlessly at Wang Xian's position. His face revealed a cold expression. Buzz! At this moment, a group of immortal gods from the Yuan clan flew out from the side and stood beside King Okuden. There were 3 crystal coffins in front of them. One of the coffins was exquisitely carved and placed in the middle. 6 immortal gods held the coffins and placed them in the air. Dragon King, today I will use your head as a tribute to my wife. A furious roar was heard. Yu Wenhua stared at Wang Xian with a ferocious expression. Everyone was filled with killing intent. The icy cold killing intent caused the air within a radius of dozens of kilometers to freeze. 78. No, there are 88 immortals from the Yuan clan and the Northern European divine territory. There are 10 more than what they announced. The Northern European divine territory and the Yuan clan seem to have predicted that the Dragon King would come, so they have been waiting here for a long time. Could there be an ambush? 88 immortals might not be a match for the Dragon King. The group of immortals and experts from the immortal sects who were hiding in the surroundings watched this scene in astonishment. The Dragon King had suddenly erupted with a powerful force. In the end, the Norse celestial realm and the Yuan clan had long been prepared to guess that the Dragon King would come. Today, I'm going to exterminate all of you. I'm going to exterminate all of you. The grand wedding has already been held. Next, let's hold a grand funeral. Wang Xian slowly stood up from the dragon throne. He stared coldly at the godly king, Okerding. "Ha, Dragon King, you dare to kill my daughter. Today, I will use your blood and soul to atone for my sins. I will kill everyone in your dragon palace." The godly king, Okerding, stood up abruptly. The white light on his body shone brightly. He was like the invincible, godly king of light. If he wanted the world to have light, there would be light. "With just you guys." A hint of mockery appeared in Wang Xian's eyes as he swept his gaze across all of them. There were 88 immortals, over 4,000 experts from the celestial domain, and the experts from the Yuan clan. There were a total of over 6,000 people. Everyone behind the King of God was wearing divine armor and emitting a divine glow. Many of them held a sword in one hand and a shield in the other. There were also some who held a long spear and a staff in their hands. These were the people from the Nordic Divine Territories army. They were extremely powerful. There were more than a dozen of them who were merely half-step immortal gods. The strength of this army could definitely sweep across the entire world without the immortal gods appearing. We alone are enough. However, Dragon King, we will make it difficult for you to escape today. The Yuan clan's supreme elder said with a cold gaze. After he finished speaking, Divine King Okudin raised a divine staff in his hand. "And U.S., Dragon King, the wise ones have long expected that your dragon palace's strength is extraordinary, but we will still be destroyed. Today is the day your Dragon King will die. Ha, you dare to bully the people of the Roman divine realm. Today you will die. Today we will fight for the Divine King." Roars rang out one after another. In the surrounding void space, many experts who were riding Pegasus, holding divine staffs, and sitting on the divine thrones gathered beside the godly monarch, Okudin. All of them stared at Wang Xian coldly. The killing intent spread once again. What? How could it be? Another 60 immortals have appeared. Oh my God, oh my God! At this moment, the middle-aged streamer who was broadcasting in the distance revealed a look of astonishment. Today was really full of twists and turns. Until the end, no one knew what the outcome would be. Everyone thought that the Dragon King's strength was far inferior to that of the Nordic Divine Realm and the Yuan clan, but in the end, the Dragon King directly led more than 70 immortals to kill them. The number of these 70 immortals on the surface, in addition to the immortals in the Dragon Palace who were good at hiding, was unknown. But everyone thought that since the Dragon King dared to attack, he must have absolute confidence. In the end, just when everyone thought that the Dragon King would win, 60 immortals suddenly appeared. And they were all powerful immortals. The leader of the ancient Greek divine realm led a group of immortals. The leader of the Garden of Eden, Mad God, led a group of immortals. Although the leader of the Roman divine realm did not come, there was a god of the dead. The god of the dead who was second only to the king of the Roman celestial domain. 60 immortals had directly increased the power of the Norse celestial king, Odin, to 148 immortals. Close to 150 immortals. Close to 150 immortals. Seeing this terrifying power, everyone felt their scalps go numb. The 3 celestial domains actually listened to the orders of the Norse celestial king. They had long guessed that the Dragon King would lead his subordinates here. It's over. Everything about the Dragon King is within the opponent's expectations. The Dragon King has completely fallen. I really didn't expect this. I really didn't expect this. The surrounding immortals and gods hiding in the surroundings watched this scene in shock. To the west of the sky was the territory of the Xian Yuan clan. All of the immortals and gods of the Xian Yuan clan were hiding in the sky as they watched from afar. When they saw these 2 huge factions, they also sucked in a breath of cold air. The Dragon King is indeed invincible, but what can we do? After all, the other party is a divine realm with 2,000 to 3,000 years of history. The Grand Elder of the Xian Yuan clan slowly shook his head and sighed. The Dragon King has already comprehended a divine ability, and the battle that the Divine King displayed that night must have also comprehended a divine ability. Unless the Dragon King is able to completely suppress the Divine King, otherwise, a white-haired old man standing beside the Supreme Elder of the Xian Yuan clan said slowly with bright eyes. This old man stood in the center, and even the Supreme Elder was one step behind. This was a hidden supreme expert of the Xian Yuan clan. The Dragon King and the Dragon Palace have fallen. The surrounding immortals and gods thought so, and so did the Xian Yuan clan. Dragon King, this is a complete fall. Chapter 857. You are not qualified yet. Go. The Dragon King was defeated. Seeing this scene, whether it was the immortals hiding in the surroundings or the billions of people who had turned off the live stream, close to 150 immortals were completely suppressing the 70 to 80 immortals of the Dragon Palace, with a maximum of 100 immortals. There were quite a number of upper-level immortals in the Dragon Palace, but the upper-level immortals of the Nordic Divine Realm and the Yuan clan were not weak either. In a situation where they were almost equal, the difference in numbers was 50. There was no chance for the Dragon King to win at all. With the blood of the Dragon Palace, I shall pay tribute to my daughter's life. Above the peaks of the Yuan clan, the godly king sat on his divine throne. He slowly raised the divine staff in his hand. Begin the trial. Begin the trial. The trial of the gods. Boom, boom, boom. At this moment, the gods instantly scattered around and surrounded Wang Xian and the others. It's about to start. The trial of the godly king is about to begin. The Dragon King is going to be finished. The streamer who was broadcasting from afar immediately retreated. His eyes were filled with shock. They're here. Prime Minister Gue saw the group of gods surrounding them. He smiled and said faintly, Wang Xian, who was sitting on the dragon throne, was full of smiles. Ah, what monster! What monster is this? Suddenly a shocked voice was heard. The voice was filled with shock and fear. It was the voice of an immortal. The tense atmosphere and the tense battle were about to break out. It was shocked by this sudden voice. Everyone could not help but look towards the west. What exactly was it that could cause an immortal to be so terrified? Hiss, hiss. In an instant, the sound of gasping could be heard. One by one, the immortal gods hidden in the void could not help but retreat. Those who had not reached the level of an immortal god were even more frightened to the point of peeing on their butts. It was a terrifying monster. This monster had a body size of more than 300 meters and was incomparably huge. What shocked everyone the most was that it could still fly in the sky even without wings. A savage aura surged over, as if it came from the primeval world. This was definitely the largest creature on Earth. When everyone saw this monster, a shocked expression appeared on their faces. It was too terrifying. Ayo! The monster let out a slight roar, resounding throughout the surrounding sky. Even the surrounding clouds dissipated with this roar. Kuin, the first Kuin, Shaolon. There are creatures on it. At this moment, an immortal god suddenly pointed at the top of the Kuin and shouted in shock. There were people and other creatures standing on it. A swordsman with a golden sword, a strange prawn that was emitting lightning, and a demon monkey that was emitting demonic aura. This is... Upon seeing the familiar creature on it, everyone around was shocked. Dragon King. The voices of the members of the Dragon Palace came from the Kuin. One by one, the immortal gods of the Dragon Palace came to the back of Wang Xian. One by one, 100 immortal gods came to the back and scanned the surroundings with full of fighting spirit. The Kuin swayed its huge tail, and its eyes the size of a house stared in the direction of the godly king. It stood quietly in the void without moving. This, 100 immortal gods, 100 immortal gods. Oh my God! The godly monarch suddenly sent out 60 immortal gods, and the Dragon King sent out 100, a whole 100. Until the end, we'll never know who is stronger. The Dragon Palace's Dragon King is awesome. What godly monarch is that 350 meters or so? How can it be so huge? The aura it gives off is so terrifying. The people who were watching all had looks of disbelief on their faces. Just when everyone thought that the Dragon King was going to die, another 100 immortal gods and an abnormally terrifying creature appeared in the Dragon Palace. This plot was too complicated. The godly king and all the immortal gods of the Yuan clan slowly became embarrassed. 100 immortal gods, and the Dragon Palace suddenly had 100 immortal gods. The situation changed drastically in an instant. Now, the Dragon Palace had an additional 40 to 50 immortals compared to them. This made the godly monarch's face extremely ugly. His eyes sparkled. The immortals from the Yuan clan were even more terrified. The gods from the 3 major celestial realms who came to pledge their loyalty also had ugly expressions. Their eyes were filled with solemnity. Is it beyond your expectations now? Wang Xian looked at the white-bearded old man with a smile and asked with a smile. It was indeed out of his expectations that the Nordic celestial realm and the Yuan clan would send out 148 immortals in one go. However, Wang Xian did not mind. He had brought along the Hydra and 100 members of the Dragon Palace. The Hydra was an old monster who had lived for more than 2,000 years. Its strength was already at the peak of the upper-level immortal realm for a few hundred years. Now, this opportunity had allowed him to step into the extraordinary realm. With his and Hydra's strength, they were able to destroy the entire Nordic divine territory and the 148 immortals of the Yuan clan. The strength that he brought along was already a foolproof preparation. However, Wang Xian was not here purely to destroy them. He was here to train his troops. That's right, to train his troops. It was not easy for him to meet a decent faction. He wanted the members of the Dragon Palace to fight and accumulate experience. Hence, Prime Minister Gui asked Kuin to bring 100 immortals with him. Dragon King, I really didn't expect this. I really didn't expect that the wise man of the Nordic divine realm would be so wrong this time. The white-haired elder was a little agitated. He glanced at everyone around him with an embarrassed expression and growled softly. Judge me? Today will be the anniversary of your death. Wang Xian stood up and swept his cold gaze across all of them. As soon as he finished his sentence, the members of the Dragon Palace behind him instantly stepped forward and swept their cold gazes across all of them. There were more than 2,000 members of the Dragon Palace. They were fighting against 6,000 to 7,000 members of the Northern European Divine Territory and the Yuan clan. Good. I didn't expect this. I really didn't expect this. The God King's face was filled with anger. He held the golden disc above his head and held the divine staff in his hand. Dragon King, your strength is really far beyond our expectations. However, so what if your Dragon Palace has 200 immortals and gods? As long as I kill you, the members of the Dragon Palace, will follow me to slaughter. Victory will still belong to us. I am the king of all gods, O Curtin. I am an invincible existence on earth. The God King Okerding held the divine staff in his hand, and the light energy on his body flourished. He gave off an endless divine might, and his face was full of confidence and arrogance as he roared. His aura, the God King's aura, instantly stunned everyone around him. So domineering, as expected of the God King. Facing such a situation, he is still so domineering, as expected of the King of the Gods. This is a true expert, a true king. The God King is right. If he can really kill the Dragon King quickly, this victory will still belong to the Nordic god domain and the Yuan clan. The surrounding immortals and people watching the live broadcast were impressed by the God King's domineering aura. They looked on in astonishment. Chapter 858. You are not qualified. Get down. Dragon King, come and fight with me. I will take your head within 100 moves. The godly king moved and flew down from his throne. He stood in the air and faced all the powerhouses of the Dragon Palace with a cold gaze. The light from his body filled a radius of more than 10 kilometers. He shouted at Wang Xian with an invincible aura. When they saw the godly king's aura, everyone's expression changed slightly. This aura had the qualifications to suppress the gods. Fight, even if we don't have as many people as you. The gods of the divine territory have nothing to fear. Haha. Kill, with the godly king around. So what if their number doubles? Haha, fight. When they saw the godly king being so domineering and facing the immortals of the Dragon Palace with his aura alone, the surrounding gods and the immortals of the Yuan clan had their fighting spirit ignited as they roared loudly. Fight, fight, fight. Kill, kill, kill. Behind them, the experts who had not reached the immortal god realm roared loudly with killing intent. The godly monarch had ignited the flames of war for everyone single-handedly. In terms of aura, he far surpassed the members of the Dragon Palace. He's too domineering. The godly monarch is indeed the godly monarch. With such spirit, there's a high possibility of him defeating the strong, even if he's weaker. No wonder the Western God realm is willing to bow down to us. Through the live broadcast, many martial artists were shocked by the mighty and domineering aura of the godly king. The flames of war between the God realm and the Yuan clan had been ignited. They could even unleash 150 points of combat strength. Haha, fight with me. Wang Xian looked at the opponent in front of him, who was surging with spirit and excitement. He laughed out loud, and his face was filled with sarcasm. You are not qualified yet. You are not qualified yet. Wang Xian's cold voice reverberated within a radius of dozens of kilometers. TSK, 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 TSK. A little piece of trash wants to challenge our Dragon King. You are really not qualified. Just as Wang Xian finished his words, Ba Qi moved and came to the front of the center. He had 9 heads and stared at the godly king with an evil look. You dare to call yourself the godly king and challenge our Dragon King? Hee hee. His sarcastic voice resounded throughout the world. As Ba Qi stood in the center, a viscous demonic aura was emitted from his body. With a slight movement of his palm, a skeleton staff appeared. It was filled with evil demonic aura and charged directly at the light energy in front of him. There are a total of 148 celestials and disciples of the Dragon Palace. Send out 148 of them to train the troops. Begin. Prime Minister Gue stood beside the immortal dragon throne and said to everyone in the Dragon Palace in a soft voice. There was no domineering declaration, nor was there an invincible aura. His calm voice stunned everyone around him. The Dragon Palace only sent 148 immortals to fight one-on-one. The godly king was not qualified to challenge the Dragon King. The Dragon King did not make a move. Training begin. The Dragon King simply did not put the Nordic divine realm and the Yuan clan in his eyes. The godly monarch challenged the Dragon King. In the end, one of his underlings came up to fight the godly monarch. Furthermore, judging from his aura, he was completely capable of contending with the godly monarch. What the fuck? What the fuck? The appearance of the octahedron and Prime Minister Gue's words instantly made the faces of the Nordic divine realm and the Yuan clan extremely ugly. Kill! But at this moment, Prime Minister Gue's words rang out once again. In an instant, Ba Qi moved. His 9 mouths opened, and black, snake-like tongues attacked the godly monarch. Roar! 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 Behind him, a group of demon monkeys roared. A few immortal god-level demon monkeys held the sea-pacifying divine needles and smashed forward. The Thunder Shrimp clan of the Thunder tribe Ao crab, and a group of killer crabs. More than 100 golden swordfish clan members charged forward in an instant. Hiss, retreat, quickly retreat. The great battle broke out in an instant, causing the immortal gods hiding in the surroundings to hurriedly retreat. They did not stop until they were dozens of kilometers away. 300 immortal gods were fighting, and 2 immortal kings were fighting. The Dragon King really did not make a move. There is still a group of immortals and gods beside the Dragon King who did not make a move. It seems that the Dragon King does not put the Nordic divine realm and the Yuan clan in his eyes at all. Everyone around looked at the explosion of the battle in shock. The godly king's aura was overwhelming, but in the Dragon King's eyes, everything was a joke. Even the Dragon King did not make a move. This kind of confidence was not what the godly monarch was talking about. Boom! In the sky, the 9 tongues were like giant snakes. In an instant, they became 1,000 meters long and landed on the light shield in front of the godly monarch. You bastard! You're courting death. The godly monarch Oakton's face was filled with anger and rage. The radiance of the gods. He raised his divine staff, and 10,000 rays of white light in the sky shot toward the octahedron. The white light was filled with the power of judgment. Jia, the radiance of the gods? Old man, what is a god? Gods are only powerful cultivators. They can only deceive all living beings and judge me. You are not qualified enough. Ba Chi laughed maniacally and retracted his tongue. The head in the middle grew longer, and in an instant it became more than 100 meters long. You are only in existence at the first level of transcendence. You want to judge me? Hiss, hiss, hiss. He opened his mouth, and the poisonous substances in the sky welcomed the 10,000 white rays of light. Bzzz, bzzz. The sounds of corrosion in the sky, the battle between light and darkness, the godly monarch versus Ba Chi. Beast, today I represent the light and will send you to hell. The godly monarch's expression changed slightly when he heard Ba Chi's words. He waved his arm, and the eyes of the 2 huge crows on the throne emitted a dazzling white light. Their bodies grew dozens of meters in size, and they bit towards Ba Chi's body. I hate that you're so high and mighty, so I'm going to kill you. A cold expression flashed in Ba Chi's eyes. He was a creature that would always seek revenge for his flaws. He would make anyone who dared to insult him miserable. The so-called godly monarch was only SOSO. Boom, boom, boom. Caw, caw. In an instant, Ba Chi returned to his full form. His 9 heads, 9 tails, and 150-meter-long body floated in the air. A terrifying demonic chi shot into the sky. The 2 crows were instantly swallowed by the 2 heads. 9 inferno hell. His 9 huge mouths opened, and a terrifying demonic flame shot towards God King Okuden. Holy light protection. God King Okuden's expression changed slightly. His eyes revealed a serious expression, and a trace of panic flashed across his eyes. He did not expect that one of the Dragon King's subordinates actually had a strength that was on par with his. Then how strong would this Dragon King be? Thinking of this, he glanced at the Dragon King, who was sitting on the dragon throne and looking at him with a smile on his face. A trace of fear flashed across his eyes. The Dragon King had not made a move yet. If he did, you dare to be distracted while fighting with me. Ba Chi Jiu's eyes were filled with coldness and viciousness. A huge tail swept out. Not good. God King Okuden's expression changed drastically. He roared, God King's body. Boom! Ba Chi Jiu's terrifying tail swept across God King Okuden's body, causing him to fly thousands of meters away. Chapter 859, Dragon Palace's Might. What? The godly monarch was actually suppressed by that terrifying monster. It's too terrifying. Whether it's the godly monarch's explosive strength or the 9-headed monster's explosive strength, It's not something an ordinary high-level immortal can match. They've already entered another realm. Just as that monster said, the so-called godly monarch is just a powerful cultivator. What's more, this time, the godly monarch is going to be destroyed. Everyone around looked at the Dragon King, who was sitting on the dragon throne with a dignified expression. Their hearts were filled with respect. There were still dozens of immortals and gods beside the Dragon King. They did not make a move and were watching the battle from above. Just like what the old man with the turtle shell beside the Dragon King said, they were training their troops. Otherwise, they would not have done such a thing. Training their troops. They were using the God King's northern European divine territory and the Yuan clan to train their troops. Let's begin. I wonder how the first time you played it, Tang Yinxian said with a smile. She glanced at Wang Xian with a smile on her face. I also want to see how powerful the effects will be when our Dolphin Queen leads the Dolphin Clan. Wang Xian said to Tang Yinxian jokingly, Just watch. Come, sisters, let's mingle. Tang Yinxian let out a soft shout and Guqin appeared in front of them one by one. She moved her arm slightly. A very special sound was transmitted forward. The sound seemed to be filled with a special, magic power. Invisible water vapor covered the entire battlefield. At this moment, the immortal gods of the Nordic divine territory and the Yuan clan were engaged in a huge battle with the Dragon Palace. In a situation where the number of immortal gods was equal, there were no casualties yet. The strange demon who was hiding in the void was also looking for an opportunity. Buzz, buzz, buzz. When a special sound was heard, the entire battlefield seemed to be covered by a special energy. All the members of the Dragon Palace, including the immortal god realm's instant body, felt their minds clear, and the power in their bodies became even stronger. The faces of the immortals and experts of the Nordic divine territory and the Yuan clan changed. They felt the energy in their bodies slow down, and their bodies became stiff, and their vision became hazy. Roar! Ao Qitian looked at the superior immortal in front of him and paused for a moment. Then the ocean-pacifying needle in his hand directly smashed toward the top of his head. The leader of the ancient Greek divine territory sensed the great danger and instantly woke up from his trance. He hurriedly dodged. Bang! However, a terrifying force smashed onto his arm, causing his expression to change drastically. Ring, ring, ring. Not good. I feel that there is a powerful energy disturbing my mind and body. In an instant, when the interweaving energy covered the battlefield, the screams of a few immortals and gods could be heard. Ao Jian held the ice-cold longsword in his hand and chopped off the arm of the Yuan clan's supreme elder. What kind of energy is this? It can make their momentum shake and even disturb us. The Yuan clan's grand elder's eyes were filled with fear as he stared at Ao Jian with vigilance. Whoosh! However, Ao Jian did not give him any time. The long sword in his hand attacked him once again. Streaks of sharp sword rays were traceless and soundless, making the Yuan clan's grand elder's face extremely ugly. He could only use the earth attribute to defend himself. Ao Jian against the supreme elder of the Yuan clan. Ao Shrimp against the leader of the Garden of Eden's divine domain. Ao Qitian against the leader of the ancient Greek divine domain. As for Ao Yao, he was locked onto the nether god of the Roman divine domain in the void. The one fighting against the nether god was Ao Crab. Ao Crab was also a high god, and his 8 arms continuously attacked the nether god. However, the nether god was too fast, and Ao Crab couldn't keep up with his speed. 10,000 swords. Lightning. Right at this moment, 2 loud shouts rang out, and the entire battlefield instantly changed dramatically. One cold metal sword after another, one bolt of lightning after another descended from the sky. A large-scale attack. Roar, roar, charge! Ao Qitian let out a loud roar, charging straight into the center of the gods. The demon monkeys followed closely behind, and the 50-meter-long sea-pacifying needle swept out in all directions. Berserk, berserk, berserk! Chaos! Tang Yixian shouted coldly, and the 10 dolphins around them let out strange sounds at the same time. The sound once again covered the entire battlefield. Aha! From below the battlefield, a continuous stream of miserable screams could be heard. It was a battlefield where the experts of the Nordic god realm and the Yuan clan had yet to reach the immortal god level, and the members of the Dragon Palace had yet to reach the immortal god level. The sounds made by Tang Yixian and the others had a great impact on the immortal gods, and it was like a demonic sound to those who had yet to reach the immortal god realm. The moment the chaos was released, many people stood there in a daze. Between the experts and on the battlefield, a moment of daze meant death. Groups of experts were killed. Violent demon monkeys, ice-cold longswords, and exploding lightning bolts were harvesting groups of creatures. 10,000 swords, lightning, and chaos united in the sky, causing the expressions of the immortals and deities of the northern European gods' domain and Yuan clan to turn incomparably ugly. They all cultivated separately. They were completely different from the demon monkeys, golden swordfish, and thunder prawns that cultivated together. In the dragon arena, each battle team's creatures cultivated together and sparred with each other. Their combined attacks far surpassed the Nordic domains and the Yuan clans. Ah, 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 ah! Miserable cries rang out once more. This time, 20 bodies fell directly to the ground below. 7 or 8 immortal gods were instantly heavily injured. Strange demon, who was hidden in the void, attacked. Underworld god in the darkness? An underworld god that specializes in assassination? Your reaction is quite fast. Ao Yao's voice rang out. He stared at the underworld god who was covered in black robes and said with a smile, "Damn it." A sinister voice came out of the underworld god's mouth. His blood-red eyes stared at the strange demon and his arm shook. However, suddenly his expression changed and he spat out a mouthful of blood. "It's poisonous. It's poisonous. No, no, no." The 7 or 8 immortal gods who had just dodged the strange demon's fatal attack had their expressions changed drastically as they cried out in terror. Poison! Poison was created by a group of venomous snakes under Baki's command. Currently, there were more than 10 immortal gods under Baki's command. These venomous snakes did not participate in battle. Instead, they specialized in researching poisons. The poison smeared on the strange demon's sharp claws could directly kill a middle-level immortal. Even a high-level immortal had to be careful. The group of immortal gods that had just avoided their vitals were instantly poisoned to death. In just a short minute, 30 immortal gods from the northern European divine territory and the Yuan clan had died. Kiki, the feast of slaughter has begun. Godly monarch, look at how all your subordinates have been annihilated. Don't be anxious. Soon you will die too. The 8-headed celestial race hovered in the void 10,000 meters away like a world-destroying wild snake. Each of them had a huge head and a terrifying tail as they stared at the godly monarch in front of them. Their faces were filled with malevolence and coldness. The godly monarch's luxurious clothes were now black and red. He did not have the noble and kingly aura that he had at the beginning. "I am not resigned. Even if I have to die, I will destroy you, you beast." Chapter 860. Under the Might of the Dragon Palace. The divine king's roar resounded through the heaven and earth. His voice was filled with anger and despair. A subordinate of the Dragon King had power comparable to his own. He did not dare to imagine how strong the Dragon King would be. He had already lost the battle from the very beginning. It's almost over. When the strange demon launched its first round of attack, the entire battlefield had already lost its balance. The immortals and gods hiding dozens of kilometers away watched the battle in shock. The strength of the Dragon Palace was too terrifying. In a one-on-one battle, they had killed 30 immortals and gods in just 5 minutes. They were immortals and gods. The terrifying demon monkey, swordsman, and Lacia can even fight against 2 immortals of the divine realm and the Yuan clan. Even if those terrifying assassins don't take action, they will be defeated very quickly. The light creature that assassinated them made people's scalps go numb. In an instant, they assassinated 30 celestials. Even if they were hit in the body, even if they didn't get hit in the vitals, they would still be poisoned to death by the powerful poison. Not only that strange light creature, but also the girl beside the Dragon King and those special dolphins. The sounds they released felt like they had a powerful magic power. The strongest godly monarch in the West and the strongest divine realm are going to be finished. The Yuan clan is going to be finished too. Some immortals and gods in the surroundings were discussing. As the live broadcast platform was too far away, they could only listen to the live streamer's description. But that was all. Everyone on Earth was also very shocked. Especially not far from here, the power and sound of this war resounded over thousands of kilometers in the surrounding area. When one raised their head, they could see the battle. It was even more dazzling than the sun. Holy judgment! At this moment, the godly monarch's furious roar sounded again. He held the divine staff with both hands solemnly, and a golden disc slowly rose from the top of his head. Behind him, an angel with huge wings formed. The angel held the long sword of light in his hand and attacked the octahedron. The angel was at least 1,000 meters tall and was extremely terrifying. Divine ability, is it? All right, I'll let you see my divine ability too. Kiki. Serpenium Doc Sky. Ba Chi's eyes were filled with excitement. His huge body curled up together and curled up in the sky. It made one's scalp go numb. A corrosive demonic aura surged up from his body. The 9 heads grew longer and attacked divine King Odin from all directions. Boom! The powerful and terrifying sword of light was hundreds of meters long. When it slashed at Ba Chi's head, a huge gash instantly appeared. However, at this moment, the tail curled up together and corrosive demonic chi spread towards the gash, instantly healing it. Hiss! 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 Ba Chi opened his huge mouth, and a terrifying corrosive power spread out like rain. Every one of them was the size of a wash basin. Holy light, sweep through all darkness. God King O'Curtain waved the divine staff in his hand, and the sword of light that was hundreds of meters long immediately swept through the surroundings. Light restrained darkness, and darkness similarly corroded light. Sizzle! Sizzle! The sound was endless, and at this moment, the corrosive liquid turned into sinister vipers. Vipers filled the sky and attacked the angels. Kiki, go berserk, Kiki! 9 heads that were dozens of meters in size, carrying countless small vipers, attacked. This scene caused everyone to be terrified. What? Die! The God King's expression changed drastically. He waved his divine staff, and the 1,000-meter-long angel, which covered his body, swung the sword of light at the same time. Bang! 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 The 3 heads opened their huge mouths and bit the sword of light. Their sinister eyes were full of mockery. How can a weak human compete with me? The other 6 heads of the octahedron let out sinister smiles. The 6 heads and countless small vipers attacked the angel. Boom! 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 The sound of an explosion rang out as the angel rapidly melted. The sword of light also quickly disappeared. The 9 heads and 9 pairs of eyes coldly looked down at the godly monarch below. With a sinister smile, they opened their huge mouths and rapidly dived down. Ah! A miserable cry rang out. This miserable cry caused the bodies of the gods in the divine realm, as well as the immortal gods of the Yuan clan, to tremble violently. The godly monarch had fallen. The godly monarch is dead. Everyone was shocked, and despair appeared in their eyes. The godly monarch was, after all, still a human. The eight-headed serpent was a heaven and earth mutant, and now that it had cultivated the demonic dragon transformation, killing the godly monarch was not too difficult. After a battle, the eight-headed serpent was not even injured. Hiss, hiss, hiss. The eight-headed serpent floated 10,000 meters high in the air. Its 9 heads looked down coldly, watching the godly monarch's body fall to the ground and watch the battle below. Roar! Aochitian was also aroused by the death of the godly king. He was originally the strongest existence in the Dragon Palace, but he was caught up by a snake. The competitive Aochitian let out a wild roar. His body was covered in black scales and horns. He held the 50-meter-long ocean-pacifying needle in his hand and smashed it toward the ancient Greek leader. Below, Ao Shrimp and Ao Jen swept their eyes over, unwilling to fall behind. Thunder spear piercing the sky. Merciless sword thrust. 2 cold sounds rang out as the thunder spear in Ao Chi's hand seemed to be a sharp weapon that could pierce through the heaven and earth. It was thrown directly toward the mad god. The last song boiling. Seeing this scene, Tang Yinshen smiled. With a shake of his arm, the strings of the guqin in front of him also began to vibrate. Waves of violent sounds covered the entire battlefield, interweaving chaotic and boiling. Each sound wave was stronger than the last. Together with the members of the Dragon Palace, they were able to activate 150% of their combat strength. Moreover, they could greatly interfere with and even suppress other creatures. Aha! In an instant, the blood of the immortals spilled all over the ground, and the corpses of the gods fell. Flee! A terrified voice sounded. The gods of the Garden of Eden, ancient Greece, and Rome saw the rapidly falling gods and were filled with shock. Fear made them flee in panic. If the first god escaped, there would soon be a second. You still want to escape trash. The 8-limbed eyes in the sky revealed a trace of mockery as his terrifying tail swept out. Pum! The escaping immortal god did not even have time to react before he was killed by the terrifying snake tail. The heavens want to destroy our Yuan clan. There were only a dozen or so of the Yuan clan's immortal gods left. They were in a sorry state, and their eyes were filled with regret and misery. Ha! The heavens want to destroy our Yuan clan. An immortal god from the Yuan clan shouted crazily, his hair disheveled. You brought this on yourself. You can't live with yourself. The immortals hiding in the surroundings looked at the Yuan clan's immortal god who was roaring crazily with emotion. If they knew this would happen, they wouldn't have done it in the first place. 3 days ago, the Dragon King came to your wedding and gave you a congratulatory gift. You humiliated him in public. Now, the Dragon King has given you a huge funeral. After today, the Dragon King's power will shock the whole world. Chapter 861. Respectfully sent the Dragon King off. Dead, all of them are dead. It seems that not a single expert from the Dragon Palace has died. The battle slowly came to an end. When the body of Divine King Ocurdan fell from the sky, when the gods from the Roman celestial domain, the Garden of Eden celestial domain, and the ancient Greek celestial domain tried to escape, when the immortal gods of the Yuan clan screamed in pain, they were completely defeated. In less than 10 minutes, all the immortal gods were killed. Those experts who had yet to reach the immortal god level were also killed. 148 immortal gods were killed along with a godly king. This was a war that shocked the entire world. More than 300 immortal gods participated in it, and more than 100 of them died. This made the name of the invincible Dragon King. Bring all the corpses here. Take all the treasures of the Yuan clan with you. Wang Xian sat on the dragon throne and swept his gaze across the fresh blood below. The blood of the powerhouses and the blood of the immortals possessed a powerful energy. It was absorbed by the dragon pool and converted into dragon blood. with the 148 corpses of the immortals and the corpse of the godly king Okurdan. It was sufficient to increase the number of members of the Dragon Palace by 70 to 80, or even more than 100. Battle to nourish the battle. Wang Xian was rather satisfied with this battle, especially with the strength displayed by Tang Yinxian and the group of dolphins. In a group battle, the effect was too terrifying. Wang Xian was also very satisfied with the strange demon's performance. However, Wang Xian wasn't too satisfied with the golden swordfish, demon monkey, and thunder shrimp. The members of the Dragon Palace possessed dragon blood and cultivated the divine dragon transformation. They belonged to the otherworldlings and had a higher physique than humans. However, it would take a long time for them to end the battle in a 1 versus 2 situation. The Dragon Palace's foundations are too weak. The time they have cultivated is too short. Wang Xian thought to himself. He wanted his subordinates to be at least as strong as Octahedron. It was not that Octahedron was extraordinary, but it was the same level of combat strength. With Octahedron strength, it should be easy for him to kill 2 or 3 people of the same level. Just like the battle with the godly king, Octahedron had no ability to resist at the end. Even if 2 more godly kings came, they would not be his opponent. Of course, this was largely because 8 points had lived for more than 2,000 years. His foundation was very strong, his foundation was deep, and his methods were also extremely powerful. In the universe, the lifespan of humans was relatively short. Many creatures had a lifespan of thousands to tens of thousands of years. The accumulation of time allowed them to have a powerful attack power that far exceeded that of humans. The accumulation time of the members of the Dragon Palace was still too short. Dragon King, everything is taken care of. In less than 20 minutes, all the members of the Dragon Palace came before Wang Xian and spoke respectfully. Below, at the Yuan clan, all the members of the clan were lying on the ground with ashen faces, not daring to move an inch. Just now, when the members of the Dragon Palace went down to search for treasures, some of them wanted to resist, but were killed immediately. As the pressure was released, everyone from the Yuan clan knelt on the ground. Let's go back. Wang Xian nodded his head faintly. The 9 dragons swayed their bodies and flew slowly in the direction of the Dragon Palace. Greetings, Dragon King. At this moment, an immortal god who was hiding in the surroundings hesitated for a moment before shouting respectfully in the direction of the Dragon King. Respectfully send off the Dragon King. When the other immortal gods saw that someone had revealed themselves, they all revealed themselves and respectfully shouted in the direction of the Dragon King. At this moment, the entire area rang out, respectfully send off the Dragon King. This scene was seen by everyone through the live broadcast. The hearts of everyone watching the live broadcast trembled slightly. At this moment, there were already 70 to 80 immortal gods watching from the surroundings, coming from various immortal sections. Even the immortals from the Xian Yuan clan were around. All the immortal sects, including the Xian Yuan clan's immortals, bowed at the same time and shouted respectfully to send the Dragon King off. This was recognition for the Dragon King. This was recognition for the world's strongest overlord. The Dragon Palace has at least 200 immortals. The Dragon Palace's strength, even if the entire Huaxiao immortal sects were added together, is not as strong as the Dragon Palace. The Western realm of gods was killed by the Nordic king, the Nordic realm of gods was destroyed, the Garden of Eden realm of gods, the ancient Greek realm of gods, and the Roman realm of gods were all destroyed. Now, the strength of the entire Western realm of gods added together is still not enough for the Dragon King to kill. The Dragon Palace is already invincible in the world. Everyone thought to themselves, the Dragon Palace was too strong, so strong that the forces that destroyed the Nordic king and the Yuan clan's immortals did not suffer any casualties. In the future, the Dragon King will be the one and only king in the entire world. Therefore, the immortals respectfully called out to send the Dragon King off. The immortals fell and blood flowed like a river. In the era of spiritual energy martial arts 000104, 25th day, the Yuan clan, who was at its peak, formed a marriage alliance with the Nordic god realm, inviting all the great immortal sects and god realms on earth. The Yuan clan had invited the Dragon King of the Dragon Palace. In the end, at the wedding, the bride, Philomena, blatantly refused to give face to the Dragon King and sought death by provoking the Dragon King. In the end, she was killed on the spot by the Dragon King. The Nordic divine realm's divine king, Odin, was furious that night. He had led all the experts of the divine realm to come and die in order to destroy the Dragon King. The Nordic divine realm and the Yuan clan had joined forces with two powerful forces. In the end, the number of immortals had reached 148. However, the Dragon King led a group of members of the Dragon Palace and completely destroyed the Norse celestial realm and the Yuan clan without any losses. Since then, the Dragon King of the Dragon Palace was the most powerful existence on Earth, and the Dragon King was also an invincible expert that surpassed all the immortals. In the era of spiritual energy martial arts, the Dragon King's deeds were recorded. This was a record of the Dragon King by some historians, and it was also a record of this incident. At this very moment in the Dragon Palace, the First Great War exposed many problems. Prime Minister Goe and a group of civil officials made a detailed summary of this Great War. The cultivation continued. The foundation of the Dragon Palace was too low and needed to be improved as soon as possible. After digesting the corpses of the immortals and deities, Wang Xian was ready to order the members of the Dragon Palace to start the journey of conquering the Earth's oceans. They would dominate the oceans and establish the invincible underwater Dragon Palace on Earth. The 5 lakes and 4 seas were the domain of the Dragon Palace. The 10,000-year-old water tribe were the subjects of the Dragon Palace. Time passed slowly. The Dragon Palace was developing at a terrifying speed. The strength of the water tribe in the Dragon Palace was improving every day. They cultivated the best attacks and enjoyed the most amount of spiritual energy. It was far from what the humans on Earth could compare to. The Dragon Palace's territory was also expanding rapidly, reaching the western seas. In the western seas, there were a few sea gods. These sea gods also lived at the bottom of the sea. They even wanted to join the Dragon Palace, but they were directly rejected. All the resources at the bottom of the sea flowed into the Dragon Palace. All the water tribe members hoped to join the Dragon Palace. In just a short year, there were around 5,000 water tribe members who had passed the Dragon Gate. The number of members of the Dragon Palace had increased tremendously. Chapter 862 Unify the Ocean. How is it, Xiao Xian? How did it go with Father Feng, Ling Tian? One day a year later, Guan Shuqing, Lan Qingyue, and the rest asked with a smile when they saw Wang Xian return. When Xiaoyu saw her brother return, she stared at Wang Xian with a slightly red face and looked at him expectantly. It's done. We will prepare Xiaoyu's wedding in half a year. Hee. Wang Xian walked to Xiaoyu's side and patted her head as he said to her, Brother, I'm not in a hurry. When are you going to hold your wedding with your sisters-in-law? Xiaoyu said to Wang Xian with a slightly red face. She had been together with Feng Lingtian for 2 to 3 years. These 2 to 3 years were neither long nor short. Xiaoyu was already a 25-year-old girl. As for Wang Xian, he was already 26 years old this year. However, time did not leave any traces on their bodies. They still looked the same as before. U.S. Wang Xian looked at Guan Shuqing, Lan Qingyue, Sun Lingxiu, and Ajaya beside him. He glanced at Tang Yinxian and Elder Fan, intentionally or unintentionally, and chuckled. Right now, your brother only has you to worry about. So, let's settle your wedding first, Xiaoyu. Guan Shuqing smiled and said to Xiaoyu, As for our wedding, there's no rush. When Xiao Xian becomes a peerless master, we can get married again. That's right. We're with Xiao Xian every day, so there's no rush. Let's settle your wedding first. Lan Qingyue and the others smiled. Although they were looking forward to the wedding, they were not in a hurry. Now that they were together every day, the wedding was just a formality. Now, all the members of the Dragon Palace were addressing them as the Dragon Queen. They could be considered as the real mistress of the Dragon Palace. I can only leave with peace of mind after I settle all your matters, Wang Xian said to Xiao Yu with a smile on his face. Brother, are you going to the transcendental continent? Xiao Yu frowned and said to Wang Xian, just settle your matters, and it will be over. There are no longer any opponents on Earth, and the development of the Dragon Palace is about to reach a bottleneck. Therefore, let's go to Feng Wan's world to take a look. Wang Xian said with a smile as he thought of Feng Wan, who had left Earth for 2 years. He wondered what the former empress was doing. Xiao Yu was a little silent. Brother, I'll go with you when the time comes, right? Wang Xian patted Xiao Yu's head lovingly. I'll go and take a look first. In the future, I'll move the Dragon Palace to the entrance of that world. When the time comes, I'll be able to come back directly from there. When I've really established my footing in the transcendental continent, I'll bring you guys there. Brother, you have to be more careful in the future, Xiao Yu said worriedly. Don't worry. Wang Xian smiled. It's not like I want to go there now. Besides, I won't die. With the ancestral tree and the soul-returning wood, Wang Xian could revive in the Dragon Palace even if his physical body was damaged on the Transcendence continent. When that time came, he would be a hero again. He was filled with curiosity towards the Transcendence continent. According to the Empress, the Transcendence continent could only be considered as a real step into cultivation if one became a transcendent. Above the Transcendence, there was the profound void. Above the profound void, there was longevity. In that world, there are as many experts as the clouds and as many experts as the rain. The so-called immortals and gods of earth were just small figures in that world. There were powerful dragons, old demons who had lived for tens of thousands of years, and countless treasures. The sky was high enough for birds to fly, and the sea was wide enough for dragons to roam. Xiao Yu nodded slowly. Okay. Xiao Yu nodded. She knew that her brother had powerful treasures. Even if he died, he could be resurrected in the Dragon Palace. This made her feel much more assured. Reporting to Dragon King, the entire ocean is under the control of our Dragon Palace. All the sea areas are under our control. At this moment, Prime Minister Gue came to the Dragon King's palace excitedly and reported to Wang Xian. All of them. A smile appeared on Wang Xian's face. It's the Dragon King, including the South Pole and the North Pole. All of them are under the control of our Dragon Palace. In addition, I plan to build an underwater city to form a true underwater culture. Prime Minister Gui's eyes were full of luster as he spoke. Build a city. Wang Xian's eyes were also sparkling. With the impact of the spiritual energy, many creatures on the seabed had evolved. Under his guidance and the guidance of the civil officials of the Dragon Palace, millions of aquatic creatures had already developed their intelligence. Build an underwater city to build a perfect underwater civilization. All right, we will build a city around our Dragon Palace. Oh, right, the Dragon Palace will be transferred to the entrance of the extraordinary mainland soon. The city will be planned there. Wang Xian nodded and said, It's the Dragon King. Prime Minister Gue nodded immediately. Ding! Congratulations to the host for unifying the Earth's oceans and completing the side mission of unifying the oceans of 10,000 worlds. The reward is the dragon seed, the thorn dragon. At this moment, the system's voice rang out suddenly. Wang Xian was stunned for a moment before an excited expression appeared on his face. Dragon seed, thorn dragon. The mission of unifying the Earth's oceans has been completed. The reward is dragon seed. Thorn dragon. Wang Xian's eyes sparkled. His heart skipped a beat as the information of the Dragon Palace appeared in his mind. Dragon Palace, Level 2. Dragon Master. Wang Xian, Level 9-5 Elemental Divine Dragon. Buildings. Dragon King Palace, Level 2. Increases the Dragon King's cultivation speed and recovery, speed by 1,200%. Dragon Transformation Pool, Level 2. Absorbing dragon blood can give birth to a dragon seed. Dragon Blood, 143232. Dragon Gate, Level 2. A fish can only become a dragon if it leaps through the Dragon Gate. It is effective against creatures below the extraordinaire level. Ocean Pacifying Needle, Level 2. Pillar of the Dragon Palace. Set a distance of 100 kilometers for the Dragon Palace to be peaceful. Increases the combat strength of the members of the Dragon Palace by 200%. Dragon Cave, Level 2. With 2,000 dragon caves, the cultivation speed of the creatures in the Dragon Cave will be increased by 800%. Dragon Field, Level 2. Practice martial arts in the Dragon Field. Increase comprehension by 400%. Dragon Array, Level 2. Dragon Palace Array. Concealment, defense, gathering of spiritual energy movement. Spirit Item. Ancestral Tree. Level. Able to restore the soul of creatures below transcendent level. Activate the spiritual intelligence of creatures. Increase the speed of fire attribute cultivators by 200%. Attached, Dragon Transformation Pool to nurture dragon species. Current dragon species: Thorn Dragon, Golden Swordfish, Thunder Shrimp, Demon Monkey, Demon, Hydra, Dragon Turtle, Yiksha, Clam Girl, Golden Lobster. As expected, there's an additional Thorn Dragon species in the Dragon Palace. Wang Xian looked at the information in the Dragon Palace and focused his attention on the Thorn Dragon. Thorned Dragon. Wandering in the light and darkness. Walker of light and darkness. Reaper of slaughter. A message and an image appeared in Wang Xian's mind. This image was of a monster that was half light and half darkness. It wasn't much different from the strange demon's body size. It was about 1 to 2 meters in size, but it had sharp claws. Unlike the strange demon, this thorn dragon had a sharp claw on one arm and a scythe-like one on the other. Half light, half darkness, it was very strange. Chapter 863. A Person from the Supernatural Continent. Wandering between light and darkness, the walker of light and darkness, the reaper of slaughter. This was the description of the thorned dragon. Coupled with the image of the thorned dragon in his mind, Wang Xian was shocked. Light and darkness have two attributes at the same time. Furthermore, they are two attributes that repel each other. Wang Xian's face was filled with astonishment. No wonder it could be called the strongest dragon species in assassination. When it grew up, it was able to assassinate the powerful existence of the divine dragon. Just these two attributes of light and darkness represented the formidable power and potential of the thorned dragon. It was a true king of assassination that wandered between light and darkness. When I completely obtained the inheritance, the strongest among the divine dragons in my mind was a 5-elemental divine dragon. The rest were divine dragons with two attributes. There was one 5-elemental dragon, 4 or 5 dragons with two attributes, and the rest were all single-attribute dragons. As the strongest assassination dragon nurtured by the Dragon Palace, the Thorn Dragon could assassinate single-attribute dragons. Even 2-attribute dragons have to be careful when facing thorn dragons. The thorned dragon only had a dozen subordinates in the 5-elemental Dragon Palace. That was because the group of dragon gods and dragon kings at that time did not obtain the insect clan's ultimate treasure, the mother nest. After they perished together, the group of dragon gods used their last bit of vitality to create the invincible divine dragon system and sent the mother nest into the dragon pool. In the entire universe, only Wang Xian's dragon pool possessed the ability of the mother nest. Obtaining the thorned dragon seed at this time is a huge help to me in conquering the supernatural continent. Thorned dragon seed, the most powerful assassination dragon seed. Let me see your power. Wang Xian smiled and said to Xiao Yu, Guan Shuqing, and the rest, I'm going to the dragon pool to cultivate a member of the dragon palace. He went straight to the dragon pool and swept his gaze across the dragon pool below. At this moment, the dragon pool contained more than 50 million dragon blood. This dragon blood could allow an ordinary member of the dragon palace to instantly advance to the immortal level. To advance to the level of a dragon seed, I need to use a member of the dragon clan as a carrier. Let Ao Yao give it a try. Ao Yao has already reached the first level of transcendence. I wonder how strong she will be after she advances to the level of a prickling dragon seed. Wang Xian thought to himself. With a thought, a bright shadow instantly appeared beside him. The bright and eerie demon exuded a terrifying aura as it stood respectfully behind him. Dragon King. Okay, you enter the dragon pool. Wang Xian ordered Ao Yao. It's the Dragon King. Ao Yao moved and entered the center of the dragon pool. Cultivate a thorny dragon seed. Wang Xian had a thought and immediately gave the order. Ding! Check the energy and attributes. Insufficient energy and insufficient attributes. Unable to cultivate a thorny dragon seed. System notification. The detected attributes and energy can cultivate a thorny light dragon seed. With sufficient energy, you can cultivate a thorny dark dragon seed. Use the thorny light and thorny dark dragon seeds as treasures to cultivate a thorny dragon seed. Instantly, the system's voice entered his mind, causing him to frown immediately. I can't believe it can't be cultivated yet. But that's true. If we can cultivate a large number of dragon-prickling dragon species, that would be too insane. Wang Xian mumbled. Cultivate the light-prickling dragon species. Cultivate the light-prickling dragon species. Start cultivating. The system's voice rang out. In an instant, the 9 divine dragons on the few pillars around the dragon pool were emitting bright energy. Rays of bright energy shot out from the dragon's mouth. This energy was extremely gentle. When the 9 rays of light gathered together, a drop of milky white liquid appeared at the intersection. The liquid was like fresh blood. When this drop of white blood appeared, the light disappeared and the fresh blood slowly landed on the strange demon's body. The light-pricking dragon seed should be much stronger than the strange demon's dragon seed, right? Wang Xian frowned and thought to himself, as the top dragon seed in the group of dragon gods, even if it was only a half-finished product, it should not be too weak. Buzz! The moment the white blood entered Ao Yao's body, 50 million dragon blood in the dragon pool gushed into Ao Yao's body frantically. A ball of milky white energy surrounded Ao Yao. It will take 10 days. Wang Xian looked at the progress and frowned slightly. Then he could only wait. After absorbing 50 million dragon blood in an instant, he did not know how strong the Ao Yao would be after being nurtured. What is this place? Why is there another grotto heaven behind a small cave? Could it be that we encountered a fortuitous encounter? Is this the treasure vault of an ultimate powerhouse? Haha, there's always good fortune after surviving a great disaster. We've been fleeing for so long, and the opportunity that belongs to us has arrived. Wait until we obtain the invincible divine technique and treasure. Then we'll go back and suppress everything. At this moment, in the depths of the ocean, in front of the passage that had once been opened by the Empress Fengwan, more than 10 figures suddenly appeared. They nervously looked around and then shouted excitedly. They had originally been chased and fled to the sea and were chased by sea beasts. They had originally thought that it would be so, but they didn't expect to come here. It was a completely different world. Haha, the heavens have treated us well. In the middle, A burly middle-aged man whose upper body was naked and covered in blood scars revealed an excited expression as he shouted loudly, "Be careful! The treasure isn't so easy to obtain. With our strength, the possibility of dying here is very high." A youth with a cold expression reminded them softly, "Who is it?" Just as they were talking, a 2-meter tall creature holding a fork with a cold expression suddenly swam over and warned them. "Oh, what creature? So weak. What is it saying?" More than 10 people stared at the strange aquatic creature in front of them in surprise. "Activate the voice of the soul," the cold-looking young man reminded them. The hearts of the surrounding people were stirred as a glimmer of light flashed across their eyes. "We are from the Transcendence continent, the Radiant Saint Mercenary Group. What is this place?" The cold-looking young man stared at the strange creature in front of him with a twinkle in his eyes. Whoosh! 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 At this moment, more and more of these strange creatures came over. These creatures were naturally the Ikshas. This place was the entrance to the extraordinary world. Wang Xian had sent over a dozen Yikshas to patrol this place. Over a dozen Yikshas were all immortals. The extraordinary world. When the Yikshas heard their words, they were slightly shocked. The civil officials in the Dragon Palace had told them some things about the extraordinary world. Naturally, they knew about it. The Yikshas didn't expect that the other party was actually from the extraordinary continent, and their eyes were full of vigilance. They should be just some small water tribe. Kill them. After all, we are outsiders and the water area is under the control of the dragon tribe. They are not very friendly to us humans. A middle-aged man among the dozen, or so people suddenly said. The surrounding people hesitated slightly, and the middle-aged man in the middle hesitated for a moment. "We'll talk after we extract a confession," he said with a wave of his arm directly toward the Yiksha to grab.